The following is a live presentation of CBC Sports.
The CFL on CBC proudly presenting the Labor Day Classic. Double coverage, beginning with the Battle of Alberta, a game elevated by emotion. This Leroy leaves Stampeders black and blue. The Gizmo is all wound up and still poses a threat in the sunset of his career. The Stampeders, they're on the rampage, and Jeff Garcia has taken the reins and has the horses after a slow start. And look who's back. Alan Pitts is picking up where he left off, back from injury with feeling. In the nightcap, it's the Tiger Cats and the Argonauts. Doug Flutie leads Toronto's Triangle of Terror. Along with Robert Drummond and the elusive Mike Pinball Clemens, they're giving opponents fits. The Ticats have the league's worst record, but their spirit is not broken. Defense, their strong suit, a fill brick wall, and a Tiggle who wears the Tiger Cat with distinction. It's standing room only. Can you stand the excitement? That's the scene in Calgary. McMahon Stadium is sold out. A crowd estimated at more than 37,000 this afternoon for the Battle of Alberta. And anticipation is running high for this provincial rivalry, rivaled only by perhaps the excitement of a playoff game in November. The Stampeders and Eskimos will kick off our Labor Day doubleheader, and immediately following that, we'll bring you to Hamilton for the nightcap and the Argos and the Tiger Cats. Good afternoon and welcome to the CFL on CBC and the Labor Day Classic. It's the best time of the year if you're a football fan in Alberta. But this time around, it's the Stampeders who are looking up at the Eskimos at mid-season. Calgary, 4-5. Edmonton, 7-2. But the Stampeders are coming back. The return from injury of slotback Alan Pitts has given the Stampeders a huge lift. We'll hear from him at halftime as he talks about helping his team and helping himself through some turbulent years off the field. Well, the weather couldn't be prettier at both ends of the country, here in Hamilton and in Calgary. Let's welcome now to the broadcast at McMahon Stadium, Don Whitman and Bluto, Chris Walby.
Thank you, Mark. Hi, everybody. And yes, it is indeed a pleasure to welcome Chris Walby, a rookie, to the broadcast booth after a distinguished 16-year playing career. And Chris, you'll notice one major difference up here to down there. Nobody's going to mess with your 6'7", 320-pound frame up here.
But the thing is, Don, what we like to do before anything we start in a new season, we like to headbutt. And I don't know if that's appropriate right here.
I don't think you and I can afford to lose anything up top, Chris. Let's talk about this game. The Edmonton Eskimos welcome back two key performers. They missed last week's game against Hamilton. I'm talking about quarterback Danny McManus, who suffered a bruised collarbone on the 14th of August against Toronto. In the same game, his favorite receiver, Darren Flutie, pulled a hamstring. Both missed last week's game. Both have been pronounced fit and ready this afternoon.
And in Calgary, I tell you what, Dwayne Patterson is out. They're going to miss him, leading sacker. Steve Anderson moves out to the end position to get some pressure, and they bring in big Brunzell Miller from the Arena in the World League to apply some pressure up the middle.
6'3", 270 pounds. This should be a great battle. And Chris, you think there are a couple of keys on both sides to success for the Eskimos and Stamps?
Well, most definitely. I think they got to give protection. Garcia has to be protected right now. BC was putting a lot of pressure on, and Wally Buono felt that his receivers were open in the game, and they must control Alan Pitts. I tell you, for Edmonton to have a chance to win, Pitts has got to be controlled.
And both coaches feel that their offensive lines must give the quarterbacks time to throw. That's our view from the press box. Let's go to the sidelines, and here's Steve Armitage.
Don, it's a perfect day for football here in Calgary, and this crowd is jumping. I can hardly wait for the opening kickoff. This is the 35th Labor Day Classic between these two teams. The Eskimos have a 20-14 lead in the series, but Calgary have won the last 4 games. There's no question this is a very special game for all players involved. The key question is, why?
Because we're just so close, being in the same province. Everyone wants the bragging rights, and that's why everyone goes up and go out and play as hard as they can. The intensity level definitely rises, and we hopefully we can come out on the better end of it. But we know it's going to be a very physical ball game.
You don't have no trouble getting up at Edmonton. I don't like them, and they don't like us, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be until I leave the red and white. And until then, it's going to be a war every time we step out there on that field.
Two defensive standouts setting the scene for what promises to be a very intense and, as always, very physical game. Well, yesterday at this time at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, it was a little on the chilly side. It was overcast, temperature around 10 degrees. Not so today, 19 degrees Celsius. The wind is gusting, and there is not a cloud in the sky. I can see all the way up to the press box where I can see Bluto. Don, I know you're up there somewhere.
Yes, he can obliterate a lot of things, including myself. Ron Lancaster, the coach of the Edmonton Eskimos, in his 7th year, a 78-39 coaching record with the Edmonton Eskimos as far as wins and losses are concerned. And Wally Buono, the head coach of the Calgary Stampeders since 1990, goes into this Labor Day game for the first time, Chris, with a losing record.
And that's something he's not used to, and I'm sure he wants to correct it. They don't feel that they're 4-5. They had a little bit of a setback last week in BC. They're out on the biggest day of this year right now, the Labor Day game, to set it straight.
And two of the veterans of the Calgary Stampeders involved in a ceremonial kickoff, holding the ball, Stu Laird, and one of the all-time great receivers in the CFL performing the kickoff chore, Dave Sapunjas. That's Stu Laird, and there's Dave Sapunjas. And those two certainly made their presence felt during their CFL career with the Calgary Stampeders. Danny McManus is not wearing any protective gear for that severe bruise he suffered to his right collarbone on the 14th of August in Toronto. Some people were skeptical that he would play in this game, but Ron Lancaster said, we pronounced him fit and ready on Wednesday, and he has taken all the reps in practice since then.
You're going to have to dog chain him down to keep him out of this game, I'm telling you.
Henry Williams takes the kickoff, trying to bring it back and provide the Eskimos with great field position, but he's brought down at the 35 by Kenton Leonard. Danny McManus comes into this game with a very impressive passing record for the season. 14 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He always throws a lot of interceptions, Chris, but he doesn't let that bother him as far as putting the ball in the air goes.
He's always been oblivious to criticisms. I think he's one of the classic reasons why he's doing so well. He plays within himself. He knows what he can do. He's got great confidence.
He has the same offensive coordinator for the second straight year in Ron Lancaster Jr. and Tony Burst, the ball carrier on the first offensive play of the game, brought down by Ernie Brown after a pickup of 2 yards.
And let's just test. I mean, Edmonton's going to go right at that heart of the defense right here. But here's their offensive line: Thomas Rayam, Sholeice Conop, the big veteran, Groenwagen, who has not missed a game yet, Chris Morris.
Mark Tobert is replacing Don Blair as a wide receiver. Blair, the Calgarian, suffered a hamstring pull in practice this week. Operating out of the shotgun on 2nd and 8. Pass is complete to Tobert for a first down at the 46-yard line.
That's a nice play. A little play-action pass, a little hitch right out to Tobert right now.
A 10-yard pickup for the Edmonton Eskimos. We talked about Anderson moving outside, the newcomer Bronzell Miller moving to defensive tackle. Alondra Johnson is a key in the middle. He's flanked by McClanahan and Hall, and Eddie Davis takes William Hampton's place at a defensive back position for this game. 1st and 10 from the 46. McManus over the middle. It was incomplete, intended for Eric Blunt.
And true to form, Danny McManus wants to throw the ball. He gave him a gratuitous little run up the middle of first play. Now he's going to come out and do what he likes to do best, and that's air it out.
We talked about McManus having an offensive coordinator for a second consecutive year in Ron Lancaster Jr. They prepare a game plan during the week. They have the plays written on a wristband for McManus. He refers to those plays during the course of the game, but basically is on his own in calling signals for the Eskimos. Out of the shotgun on 2nd and 10, out into the flat. wide open is Shannon Myers. He had an impressive CFL debut in Toronto against the Argonauts.
We watched him in Toronto, and I thought he did a great job of doing something, coming back to the ball. And here they just flood the zone. They bring him underneath. He's wide open. They're playing a little zone coverage there. Nice pass and catch.
It's quite a thrill in that Toronto game for Myers to score his first pro touchdown, and his mother was in attendance, and he presented her with the ball after he scored the touchdown.
And as I recall, she was very emotional about receiving that ball.
From the 54, first and 10, McManus swings it out, and Eric Blunt down the sidelines looking for additional yardage, forced out of bounds at the 45. That would be a pickup of about 8. Coleman and Johnson took him out.
And the nice play about this is the fact that they're going to isolate Alondra Johnson on Blunt. Now, when Blunt releases, Alondra's got a long way to come from that middle linebacker position to pick him up right here. He's got to rely on some pressure to pull him upside, keep him there, turn him inside to make the tackle.
Well, you saw number 51, Alondra Johnson, come across to assist on the stop.
Second down, yard to go.
Second and about 1.5 yards for the Eskimos from the 45. The lone setback, Tony Burst, takes the ball and picks up a first down. There's also a penalty flag on the play. Ken Lazaruk, the referee this afternoon.
And this usually is an offside by the defense. The defense is trying to anticipate the count, or a lot of times they line up as tight as they can to get underneath those offensive linemen, those big hogs. And I believe they're going to be offside, as the call is. But speaking of Burst, how are you going to stop a house like that? You give him a little bit of steam? I don't know, and I'd like to look up and see if he's ever been stopped on a short yardage.
Offside, Calgary, number 51. First down, Edmonton.
Well, it was middle linebacker Alondra Johnson, perhaps anticipating the snap count, trying to get in there, and the offside penalty moves the ball to the 40-yard line, first and 10 for the Eskimos.
And you're going to see a lot of that right now because of the fact there is such a rivalry. Their emotions are flying right now. They're trigger happy, and they want to get in there and they want to do something quick.
Well, for the last couple of days, in all our conversations with players on both teams, they talked about the importance of this game. More important this year to the Calgary Stampeders than these games have been in the past. In some other years, teams have come into this game, Calgary that is, in more or less cruise control.
And remember, Calgary has never been in a position where they're tied for last place in the West. And this is the money part of the season right now. We're going for the ring, we're going for the place standings, and we're going for the cup.
Over the middle, and Flutie can't hang on. That signal you saw a moment ago, sorry Chris, was from Ken Lazaruk, the referee, was to reset the 20-second clock.
Well, even the refs are excited out here. I tell you, the umpires are upset. What you got there is you got Flutie coming across behind the linebackers in front of the DBs. Nice throw, great protection by the offensive line in that play. Just runs there, runs away from Darryl Hall. And that's something you don't usually see from number 82. He's got Fred Biletnikoff type hands.
Operating from the shotgun on second down, McManus steps up into the pocket, and it's a low throw. It bounces in front of Shannon Myers. There was pressure coming from the outside from Anderson, and that's something that Wally Buono was talking about, Chris. He felt that he would give him a bit of an edge coming from the outside.
Well, Steve Anderson has played the majority of the games this year inside. So when they move him to the outside, he's going to have to get used to that position and playing against a tackle, not a guard, and learn to use that size. He did a great job that time, kept working, and got a hit on Danny McManus.
Ron Fleming comes into the ball game to attempt a 47-yard field goal. He's been good on 4 of 5 attempts from this range this year. Marvin Coleman, the lone man back. The kick is up. The wind at his back. It's long enough. It's wide. It's through the end zone, but it's wide and will result in a single point. So the Edmonton Eskimos are first on the board in this Labor Day Classic.
Section E, row 14, seat 9.
With the wide field goal attempt by Sean Fleming, and Edmonton in front 1-0. Calgary opts to scrimmage at the 40-yard line, the point of the Edmonton Eskimo scrimmage on the unsuccessful field goal try. Jeff Garcia has thrown fewer interceptions than any quarterback in the CFL this year. He's a little different from McManus in that he will run with the football. Calvin Anderson, the ball carrier, and he's got a first down up to midfield.
and a nice hole opened by Freddie Childress and Chris Burns on the right side. Chris Burns has come under some heat in the last couple of weeks for his play. That's the way you want to start as an offensive lineman. Come out and knock the snot bubbles out of somebody, and that's what he just did.
Well, Chris Burns has been playing injured for the last couple of weeks, but he declared himself fit and ready today. Alan Pitts, in his home debut, he returned to the Stampeders on the 8th of August, played 2 road games in Winnipeg and in British Columbia. First and 10 from the midfield stripe. There may have been a mix-up there. It looked as though Garcia was trying to hand off. He carried himself and picked up a couple of yards, a 3-yard gain, stopped by Bruce Dixon. Eskimo supporters in attendance this afternoon. Mike Sellers at a defensive tackle position. They're still missing Benny Goods. Willie Pless, the all-time leading tackler at the linebacking spot, and Glenn Rogers named Player of the Week last week for his performance. 2nd and 7 for the Stampeders. Fake inside. Garcia looking for Pitts. The overthrown. Even had Pitts been able to catch up with that ball, he would have been out of bounds.
Would have been out of bounds, but they did a nice job on the play action. And I think the play earlier, they tried to do the same thing, had a little miscommunication with the back. Calvin Anderson ran into the line, but Garcia with the presence of mind to try and get something out of nothing.
Now the Stampeders today wearing the black uniforms, which they introduced Labor Day in 1993. Wally Buono that year wasn't totally in favor of bringing out the new uniforms, but a couple of the players, Stu Laird being one of them, convinced Buono after the pregame warm-up to go to the black.
And they're nice sweaters, but I wish the numbers were a little different. I mean, red on black is a real hard number to see.
Tony Martino with his 3rd down kick, the leading punter as far as average goes in the CFL. No opportunity for a return for Henry Williams. He is stopped in his tracks at the 11-yard line. That was a 41-yard punt by Tony Martino. Well, there was a lot of speculation this week about the injury of quarterback Danny McManus, but he had no problems once he returned to work on Wednesday.
Right now it feels 100%. There's no pain when I throw. There's my velocity with the football, my accuracy is all right there. So I feel like everything is healed up and it's ready to go for Labor Day.
He was telling us he was really sore the day after the Toronto game, but when he returned home, had people look at it, they did some work on it, and he is throwing without any difficulty now. McManus being flushed out of the pocket. He's tackled on the goal line. It was very close to a safety touch, but they rule that he was tackled just outside the goal line.
Now you were talking about get some pressure. They got some pressure big time up the middle. Allowed Steve Anderson to get in the face, causing him to flush Danny McManus. And Danny, as everybody knows, is not a real big scrambler. Here's Brunzell Miller coming right up. This guy's a load. But Steve Anderson fights off the left tackle, does a great job. This is close to a safety, as you said, and almost a fumble.
A loss of 10 as Anderson and Miller put the pressure on quarterback Danny McManus. 8:08 remaining in this opening quarter. 1-0. The Eskimos lead. Myers is the man that McManus was looking for along the left sidelines. So now the Eskimos will be punting from their own end zone on 3rd down.
And one of the worst things that can happen to an offensive lineman is to get beat early. And right there, Anderson beat him the play before, and he came back on him again, made a little shake and bake. He's got that offensive tackle thinking right now, and that's nothing worse than having that happen to you early in a game.
Now, Gary Durchik is the offensive line coach, and Ron Lancaster was saying the big task this afternoon for his Eskimos would be protecting Danny McManus. Will they kick it or concede the safety touch at this point of the ball game? Penalty flag. And it's a procedure call against the Edmonton Eskimos.
And a lot of times that might have to do with the center moving the ball ahead of time, trying to draw the defense off, get him a little...
Legal procedure, Edmonton, number 29, still 3rd down.
Or again, it might be somebody, not enough people on the line of scrimmage. That's another thing that you have to have.
Vaughn and Coleman await this 3rd down kick, if indeed Fleming does kick it near the midfield stripe. Penalty flag on the play once again, and He is going to kick it out of the end zone. It's taken by Coleman at midfield. He gets a couple of blocks. There's a penalty flag, and Coleman has only Fleming to beat. Now some other people catch up with him and bring him down at the 22.
Well, John, they're going to bring that back. Definitely was a clip on Sellers. He's pointing it right now. One of the hardest things to do as a return team is to make sure you get head in front of the body. Don't ever hit him from behind or even shield him from behind, because the refs will throw the flag.
There was an initial penalty flag at the line of scrimmage. A 53-yard kick, a 36-yard return. Ken Lazaruk will confer with his officials. We'll sort it out for you when we return. Well, after they sorted things out, it was an illegal procedure call against the Eskimos and clipping on the return by the Stampeders, so the Eskimos will re-kick.
And that worked out pretty good for them, I tell you, in a situation like that, to have an opportunity to re-kick, and they can thank the man that clipped that play on Sellers.
And this time, Sean Fleming is going to concede the safety touch.
They're not going to take a chance on getting another return by Coleman. They're going to take the 2 points and elect to kick off, put Edmonton in a deeper position.
I had a feeling that Ron Lancaster, the first time they lined up to kick, might have conceded the safety touch. He opted to try and kick it away, but this time he gives up the 2 points. And now the Edmonton Eskimos will be kicking off.
Time with us with going with the wings. But one of the things about that is that's a sign of confidence in your cover teams. You don't do that if you're suspecting that they might break down. If you're confident that they can tackle Coleman or whoever returns the ball, keep them there with no yardage, that's what you're going to do. That's a great sign of respect for them.
And Calgary has decided, rather than have Edmonton kick off, they will scrimmage from the 35-yard line.
Stampeders choose to scrimmage 1st and 10 at their own 45.
So it's 1st and 10 Calgary from their own 35-yard line. The Stamps leading by a score of 2-1. Anderson, the ball carrier, and he picks up about 4 to 4.5 yards.
Brought down by the Eskimos, number 46.
Wally Buono had a feeling that he might be able to run the ball against the Eskimos.
Well, I think they can. I think one of the things they're going to test is McCready. He's got a bad ankle. And let's just see how much they miss Mr. Benny Grits.
2nd down and 6 Calgary.
Anderson ranks number 4 among CFL running backs. He was Rookie of the Year last year. 1,000-yard rusher. From the shotgun on 2nd down, Garcia looks, now decides to take off. Can he get enough room on the sidelines? Forced out of bounds by Willie Pless, and it looks as though he might be about a yard short.
Great coverage, great range of motion by Willie Pless. We talked about this yesterday. One of the things that came up in the press conference is that Willie Pless, after the 2nd step, is in full speed. You can see right here, and one of the things that Garcia likes to do is if his reads are clouded right away, he's been instructed to run with the ball. He did this. We watched him play against Toronto. A lot of success. Except for this time, he didn't hit the bench, and we had that incident happen when O'Shea hit him, and he hurt himself against the bench.
3rd down.
A somewhat similar play to a game against Toronto earlier this year when Michael O'Shea forced him out of bounds in much the same way, and O'Shea was ejected from the football game. On the 3rd down gamble, Garcia goes over the top, and he's across the 45-yard line for the 1st down.
1st down, Stampeders.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders quarterback, Jeff Garcia, realizes what he and his teammates have to do to be successful against Edmonton.
I think we need to get Kelvin Anderson into the game. Give him opportunities to run the ball. I think if we can do that and kind of knock their pressure off a little bit, it'll allow us to get back in the pocket and throw the ball downfield.
And this time he goes downfield to Terry Vaughn, and Vaughn will get the 1st down and take it to the 48-yard line. An 18-yard pickup for Terry Vaughn.
Just a simple situation of putting a 5-pack out there, 5 receivers, getting one-on-one coverage, comes back to the ball, makes a nice catch, and a move after it.
Vaughn leads the Stampeders in touchdowns through the air. He has crossed the goal line 6 times this year.
You can see him, he makes a nice move and cuts back in the inside, and all good receivers will go back against the flow. Try and pick up some blocking.
1st and 10 for the Stamps at the Eskimo 48-yard line. And off to Anderson. Anderson cuts it back, and he'll have a gain of maybe 9. Well, you heard Jeff Garcia talk about the importance of getting the ball in Calvin Anderson's hands, and they've used him in the early stages of this game.
And I think one of the things is they really do miss Benny Goods. Benny Goods was a force on that defensive line. He was a fireball for him. And I tell you one thing he did, 100 miles an hour, north and south, he was going. And he was in the backfield a lot of times more than the quarterback.
Ron Lancaster talked about Benny Goods. He said an impact player. And we try and get him into single coverage during the course of a game. But then if they double team Benny, somebody else is open.
And the thing about having a guy like Benny, when you double team him, it allows the linebackers of Edmonton to make the plays. And that's who makes the plays on Edmonton's defense, the Plesses, those kind of guys.
3 carries for 29 yards so far for Calvin Anderson. He came into the game with 506 rushing yards. He had a big game 2 weeks ago against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Second and short. Garcia will keep. And Garcia picks up another Calgary first down. Garcia has his family in attendance for this game. They were here a couple of years ago when Doug Flutie was injured, and Garcia took the controls and directed the Stampeders to 546 passing yards and 6 touchdowns.
And in 95, in this very game, Jeff Garcia threw for 6 touchdowns.
First and 10 at the Eskimo 36.
First and 10 from the 36-yard line. Again, it's Anderson. And whatever they saw in preparing for this game, as far as their ground game is concerned, they've had success so far with Calvin Anderson.
Well, you know, they got Rocco Romano, who's 6'3", 290 pounds, going against Melvin Hunter, 46. Smaller. Tommy Henry's playing the will linebacker. He's really a defensive back. They're just putting big guys on these little guys and moving them out of there and letting Anderson pick his hole, and they're really being successful right now.
Well, Anderson ran for 90 yards in the first game of the season against the Eskimos in a losing effort. Anderson again forced to the outside, and he keeps on struggling and gets a first down. A determined bit of effort by Calvin Anderson to turn what appeared to be a loss into enough yardage for a Calgary first down.
And Wally Buono said yesterday that they don't miss Benny Goods, or they didn't think Benny Goods was that much of a factor. He thought that the front of Edmonton was a lot more active without Benny Goods in there. This is an example of their flow. They flow to the ball so extremely well. But I still think Benny Goods could have made that play too.
4 first downs along the ground, 1 in the air for the Stampeders. Out of the shotgun, 3 receivers to either side. Over the middle to Terry Vaughn, and he stumbles down to about the 15-yard line.
And one of the things that I really like what they're doing, Don, is they're mixing it up tremendously. They've run off tackle, they've run a little shovel, they're running a little behind the linebacker patterns. Now they're just doing little screen passes. You're going to mix up the defensive line so bad, they won't know whether to come out of their stance or just sit there and read.
Again, it will be second and short after the 9-yard pickup. Jeff Garcia to Terry Vaughn. Remember, this drive after the safety touch began at the Calgary 35-yard line. On second and short, will it be Garcia again? It is.
Just following big Jamie Crosdale and big, and I mean big, Fred Childress, who says he's 330, but I think that's his birth weight.
Well, Freddie Childress, a former teammate of yours in Winnipeg for a brief time, 6'4", 330 pounds. And he's going against Mike Sellers.
Yeah, he'll be going against Mike Sellers, but one of the things with Edmonton, as you well know, is they shift their defensive linemen around, so he'll be seeing a variety of different people in front of him.
First and 10 from the 13-yard line. Garcia rolling to his left, throwing into the end zone. Penalty flags on the play. It's intercepted by Kavis Reed, but there was a penalty flag on the play.
And I believe they're calling pass interference on that play.
But he had a buddy back there, and that's what the flag's about.
It could be Derek Beatty who is going to have pass interference called against him.
Number 17.
Forward pass interference. Edmonton, number 17. First.
Well, Kavis Reed came up with the interception, but the interference was called against that man, number 17, Derek Beatty.
And that just gives a new breath of life to Calgary right now. They move the ball on the 1-yard line. You got big Dwayne Ford in the backfield right now. Are you going to quarterback sneak it, or are you going to give it to your horse?
Vince Danielson is the man Garcia was looking for. Garcia gives it to Anderson. Touchdown.
Offside. Edmonton declined.
The offside call against Edmonton obviously declined by the Stampeders, and that gives Karen Drake and Blue an opportunity to romp down the sidelines here at McMahon Stadium as the Stampeders score the game's first touchdown.
We played here, John, in games where I think we've almost killed the horse. He had to run so much.
There were a few games where the Stampeders were almost threatening to go into triple digits on the scoreboard. Fourth rushing touchdown of the year for Calvin Anderson. Well, they're going for a 2-point conversion, leading by a score of 8-1. And Garcia looks to the end zone, throws, and he's got it. Alan Pitts right at the goal line with a 2-point convert to make it a 10-1 Stampeder lead. We'll be back with Calgary's kickoff after this. That was a 12-play drive for the Stampeders, and Calvin Anderson carried 5 times, including putting it into the end zone.
And an offensive lineman's dream, you're on the 1-yard from pay dirt. You're going to get down, you're going to get dirty, and you're just going to rock and roll. Calgary's offensive line behind the right side does a great job.
That drive used up 6:31 on the clock and covered 75 yards. The first touchdown of the game, the 2-point conversion. Garcia to Alan Pitts, and the Stampeders lead the Eskimos by a score of 10-1.
Yeah, because he's shooting underneath, right? So don't be so fast to get outside. Exactly.
Some defensive instructions being passed along at the Edmonton bench as Jed Roberts takes the kickoff at the 35-yard line and works his way up to about the 38.
He's showing some Bo Jackson type moves there. He's obviously got a little dance history in his background.
Danny McManus started this game very strongly and then had some pressure on the second Edmonton possession. And now McManus will try and get the Eskimo attack in gear, but he needs some protection up front.
Steve Anderson has put some pressure on the last 2 series. They got to start taking him out of the game and doing some plays that'll take him out of the game.
McManus buys some time, but it's intercepted. Marvin Coleman with the interception on the pass intended for Shannon Myers, and he brings it back to the 22. A 35-yard return after the pickup.
And one of the things we might see is Marvin Pope coming from the top side of the screen, coming around, beating the tackle, getting a little pressure. And Danny has been harassed the last couple of series, and he's starting to get happy feet right now. If you notice right now, he's going to drop, and from the right side, he's looking to the left. He can feel us right now coming. He wants to get rid of that ball. Marvin Pope is right there on the doorstep.
The 11th time this year that Danny McManus has been intercepted. It's 1st and 10 now from the 21-yard line. Anthony McClanahan may have tipped the ball as it was intended for Myers and into the arms of Coleman. From the shotgun, 6 receivers, 3 to either side. Garcia now under pressure, but there's a lane up the middle, and Garcia may get to the end zone. No, he's hauled down by Kavis Reed at the 1. A 20-yard romp for Jeff Garcia.
And an excellent tackle by Kavis Reed. There's many times you'll see a guy go into the end zone. One guy left. He won't even make the effort.
And that is also the final play of the opening quarter. The Stampeders will be looking to put it into the end zone to start the second. Earlier we talked about the mobility of Jeff Garcia compared to Danny McManus. In trouble, Garcia was able to take it down to the 1.
Well, we talked about if he sees something and the receivers are covered, and this time he didn't even have a chance to look. He looks, got a wide open lane here. Offensive line pushes him to the outside. He just takes off with the ball. He smells pay dirt. He smells the end zone. Dwayne Ford does a nice job of trying to get in Cavis Reed's, but give Cavis Reed credit for stopping him.
So to start the second quarter, it's 1st and goal from the 1 for the Stampeders. Garcia looks to the end zone. He reaches through and gets the touchdown. Well, the 6th touchdown of the year for Jeff Garcia. And it was all set up by Marvin Coleman's first interception of the year.
And one of the things that makes me wonder about that, if you watched Garcia jumping, trying to get the ball across the line of scrimmage, you're really taking a chance of getting that ball knocked out.
Mark McLaughlin to add the point after. And the Calgary Stampeders open up a 16-point advantage. Garcia reminds me a little of a quarterback you played with, Matt Dunnigan. When he runs with the ball, at times he challenges the linebackers or the defensive backs trying to make the tackle.
You know what I noticed about Garcia, and it's exactly what you mean about Dunnigan. You'll try and run over a guy because sometimes when you get hit, you get into the game. It wakes you up. You want to get that hit done now.
Well, Matt Dunnigan, now retired from the CFL, will be featured at halftime in the second half of our Labor Day doubleheader, the game between Hamilton and Toronto. He's now down in Valdosta, Georgia, as an assistant football coach, working with a former coach with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Mike Kelly.
And unfortunately, they lost their first game to Georgia yesterday, or on Saturday. I'm sure they're going to turn it around.
Bust him off the ball. Protect the football and get to the guys in the secondary. But he can go, okay? Protect the football. They come inside the strip. Okay? I'll find out what we're going to do next series, and I'll come back and get you.
Danny Barrett, the quarterback coach, talking to the quarterback and the receivers on the bench. This is Henry Gizmo Williams on the kickoff return. Reinson and Henry are there to make the tackle at the 25.
And they are being instructed, these other guys' cover team, to strip the ball. The first guy wraps up, the second guy goes for the ball. They are trying to grab it.
Now, Marvin Coleman had a strong game and a victory against the Toronto Argonauts earlier in August here at McMahon Stadium, and his first interception of the season, picking off a Danny McManus pass, set up the Calgary touchdown.
And we talked about the fact that we feel that he feels the pressure right now. He's being getting pestered. He throws a little behind. Coleman makes a great job, steps up, takes it.
McManus fakes to Tony Burse, now looks upfield and finds Tobert for a first down. Excellent fake inside by McManus. And McManus got out of the pocket and found Mark Tobert for 18.
And something you wouldn't see Danny Mac doing, a bootleg, naked bootleg at that, coming outside, but he's doing the right thing by trying to mix it up, take some of the pressure off him right now, make the defensive lineman start to wonder where he's going to set up.
One thing about Danny McManus, his teammates believe in him and his ability to get the job done. First and 10 from the 43. Handoff inside, and Tony Burse is stopped right at the line of scrimmage.
Danny Mac is probably one of the most respected guys around the league. He's always smiling no matter whatever happens. I had the good fortune to see him eat his pregame meal yesterday, which I was surprised to see, Haagen-Dazs ice cream.
That's a pregame meal, and that's a bedtime snack for Danny Mac. On second down, McManus looks to the flat. He's got Shannon Myers open, and Myers with some superb effort, but loses the football, and who's got it? Robert Gordon.
I believe Edmonton's got it.
to recover. Robert Gordon with an alert move after Shannon Myers did a lot of work to pick up about an additional 10 yards. After it looked as though he was trapped when the ball popped away, Robert Gordon came over to scoop it up, a 28-yard gain.
And one of the keys to this was what we talked about earlier in the game. He got some superb pass protection from his offensive line, hit Shannon Myers, and Shannon does a great job of eluding tacklers here, doing whatever he can to try and help his team.
So the Eskimos retain possession on the fumble recovery by Gordon. McManus for Tolbert. And that was a bit of a dangerous throw out into the flat because Jordan was moving up, and I'm sure he was thinking interception.
And we got some action on the line.
It's a pickup of 4 for Mark Tolbert. It will be 2nd and 6.
2nd and 6.
From the shotgun. Again, Tolbert was the man McManus was looking for, and Darrell Hall from his linebacking position was able to knock it down. But this front 4 of Calgary has been putting pressure on McManus.
They really have, and I think Danny's going to have to revert back to what he did before, a little bit more bootleg. Little screen. You can see it's coming up the top right now. They're avoiding the back, just misses the block. You can't chop in this league. One of the things that they tell you not to do is to stay up because you don't do anybody any good when you're on the ground.
Ernie Brown is the man who just about got to McManus before he threw the football.
Number 11, Sean Fleming, will attempt a 38-yard field goal.
Sean Fleming now will attempt a field goal on 3rd down from 38 yards out. And again, the kick is wide. Coleman in the end zone was going to concede the single point, but there was a clip on the play. Alondra Johnson, I think, is going to be called.
And that'll either negate the point or they'll decline a penalty.
11:09 is the time remaining in the first half here at McMahon Stadium. Well, the Stampeders, with that good drive in the first quarter that used up 75 yards and almost 6 minutes on the clock, have the statistical edge. They also lead on the scoreboard.
And the big key, that turnover.
Well, the penalty was tacked on that missed field goal attempt, so that's why the Stampeders are scrimmaging from the 5-yard line. Galvin Anderson, the ball carrier, and he picks up about 3 yards.
Deep at their end, let's pound it up. Let's pound it on these guys. They run a little trap play inside. Edmonton does a really good job of reacting to it, stuffing the block.
Derek Brady, number 79, also there. Come on, baby. Second.
So it's 2nd and 7 now for the Stampeders. The Eskimos feeling that they would be able to control the Stampeders deep in their own zone. That's the reason for the application of the penalty. The pass was deflected. It was intended for Vaughn, and he was being covered by Glenn Rogers Jr. So the Eskimos may benefit from that decision on the clip on the missed field goal try, because they are going to get the ball back in good field position.
And real nice coverage on that play. Doesn't do the interference, just comes over nicely over the top and taps the ball out of the way. One of the things that's being noticed already is Calgary's offensive line is giving Garcia some time, and when he doesn't, he'll run with the ball.
Tony Martino is 7 yards deep in the end zone for this 3rd down punt. His first kick of the day traveled 41 yards. Some pressure up the middle, but he was able to get the kick away. Errol Martin was coming hard. This is the Gizmo fielding it. The Gizmo needs just one seam, and he can be trouble, but it doesn't develop. And he's brought down at the 52 with 9:52 remaining in the first half.
For the 5th time in the last 7 Labor Day matches between Calgary and Edmonton is a sellout. One of the more than just interested spectators is the former great receiver with the Stamps, Dave Sapunjas. Dave, are you missing it?
Well, these are the games you miss when you have a full house and the guys come out here as excited as they do. these are the type of games you miss. But I'm enjoying staying in the crowd and watching the boys.
Dave, I hate to say it, but your teammates don't miss you today.
No, they don't today. They were making me look good early on in the season, but they're coming around. It's great to see.
Thanks very much for doing this. Appreciate it. Don, back to you.
Well, some of Dave Sapunjas's defensive teammates were ready for that when the inside toss to Eric Blunt, and Daryl Hall was right there on top of Blunt the moment he got the ball.
Danny Mac taking advantage of that rush right now. Let's take advantage of the end coming up the field. Tries a little shovel pass. Daryl Hall comes up and stuffs it. That's good play from your linebacker. You can see right here, he's trying to play it off this guy. You got the end, Marvin Pope, to commit. But Hall comes over and does a nice job.
Eric Blunt takes the pass, but won't get the first down as he's stopped at about the 43-yard line.
And again, it's one of those things where you swing your back out in the flats and hope the linebacker can't cover him. Blunt does the only thing he can do when he's got two guys in front of him, and that's try to go back into the middle of the field and try and pick up his own teammates and his friends to block for him.
Third down for the Eskimos.
In the opening game of the season against Calgary, Eric Blunt had absolutely no success in trying to run the ball, and this afternoon against the Stampeders, the Eskimos are continuing to struggle along the ground. They've managed just 2 yards rushing thus far.
But I think it's one of these situations, Don, where you got to keep banging away, much this situation with Pringle in Montreal, and hope he breaks one.
Marvin Coleman is back for this third down punt by Sean Fleming. High kick. Players encroached upon that 5-yard area against Marvin Coleman, and Coleman is taken down at about the 28-yard line. Penalty flags on the play.
And one of the hardest things for any cover team to do is to play the wind. When the wind's hanging that ball up, you don't know where it's going to drop, so you're going to try and play where the receiver is or the guy catching the ball. You're trying to get back. You don't want to be within that 5-yard zone. Unfortunately, when the wind plays that ball, pulls it back, pulls it forward, a lot of times you're going to get caught in that zone.
No yards. Edmonton, number 94. First down, Calgary.
Mike Sellers was the player flagged by the officials. 8:23 remaining in the first half. 17-1, Calgary leads Edmonton, and it will be first and 10 for Calgary from the 31-yard line.
Now let's see if Calgary continues to run the ball like they did the last drive.
First and 10, Calgary Stampeders.
Their previous meeting on the 25th of June, Edmonton won 23-22. Edmonton scored 15 points in the fourth quarter of that game. Calvin Anderson, the ball carrier, he stopped at the 35-yard line.
Looks like he got about.
And they're starting just like the last drive. They want to start running the ball. They're trying to take it to the outside. And again, we talked about the quickness of Edmonton's defense. They just string it out and make the tackle.
Well, you heard Jeff Garcia earlier in talking about keys to this game. He stressed the importance of getting the ball into Calvin Anderson's hands. And they've been running their back with success so far in this football game. 7:40 remaining in the half. 17-1, Calgary leads. Second and 6, Garcia to put it in the air. Vaughn makes the catch for the first down at the 48-yard line of Edmonton.
And there was definitely a look of miscommunication between Henry. It's a good thing Rogers came over and hit him, but they had man coverage. They had a 6-pack of receivers, 6 guys, 3 to each side. They want to get the coverage they want. One guy bumps him off. The safety has to come over. Rogers makes a play. But Henry gave him the look of the old Brook Trout look.
A 27-yard gain for Terry Vaughn. And it seems the passing attack of the Stampeders is going more to their wideouts this year than it has in the past few years. And that may have been due to the absence of Pitts at training camp and the retirement of Sapunjas. Garcia on the quarterback draw is limited to about 5 yards.
And I think that's really helped Calgary as a team now that Pitt's back. Before Pitt was here, as you say, they had 40, 38 catches to the wideouts. Before, they were primarily a slot back team. Now with Pitt's back, not only are they dangerous as a slot back team, but they've had a lot of practice throwing to the outside.
Second down and 6 at the 44.
And Alan Pitts, playing just his third game of the year, will be featured at halftime this afternoon. Halftime, 6 minutes, 19 seconds away. Garcia into the hands of Travis Moore, who plays the wideout on the other side, and he is about 2 yards short of a first down. The Second half of our CFL doubleheader on this Labor Day, the annual Toronto-Hamilton battle at Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton.
And I believe Hamilton is sporting the new duds this game.
They are going to be wearing a new jersey for this Labor Day engagement, and the Calgary Stampeders, who introduced this black jersey in the '93 Labor Day Classic, are wearing the black jerseys this afternoon. And Mark McLaughlin will attempt a field goal of 48 yards.
Mark McLaughlin attempting a 48
in the 40 to 49 yard range this year. McLaughlin has been successful on 7 of 13 attempts. There was movement at the line of scrimmage. The kick by McLaughlin is good. No penalty flags. Wally Buono was upset. He thought somebody on the Edmonton side of the ball jumped prematurely. It looked like McCready may have moved, but there was no flag. 5:41 remains in the half. Well, in case you've just joined us, the big guy beside me in the broadcast booth is Chris Walby, the former offensive tackle of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Steve and Mark both referred to you as Bluto. Tell us about the nickname, how it started.
As a nickname, it's the old Popeye series, Popeye and Bluto, and Obie Graves in 1981 nicknamed to me, gave it to me in the training room, and God forbid it stuck.
Here's the toss to Eric Blunt, and he picks up 5, stopped at the 40-yard line. But because I have to sit beside you for a full football game, I won't refer to your nickname out of respect and the fear that you might move that big left arm towards me. I'll call you Chris.
Thank you very much, Mr. Whitman.
You've learned quickly.
I have.
2nd and 5 for the Eskimos from the 40-yard line. Little swing pass for Blunt, and he's going to lose a couple of yards in the play. Anthony McClanahan came up to make the tackle.
And we had Blunt earlier in the game, released to the flat. The MAC linebacker, the middle linebacker, was picking him up. All they did this time was they switched, let the outside linebacker, it's a shorter distance to run. Anthony McClanahan runs over there. He's right on top of the play. And one of the things you have to worry about that is when you throw it out there with the will linebacker going, is it can be a pick and go back 6 against you.
4:51 remaining in the first half. 20-1, the Stampeders lead. The Eskimos were first on the board. A wide field goal attempt. McClanahan with pressure coming up the middle. Coleman fields the ball, and Coleman is stopped almost in his tracks at the 48-yard line.
And that was very close.
Coleman about 3 yards on the return. Anthony McClanahan of the 41.
A 25-yard kick with a 1-yard run back for Coleman. Alan Pitts will be featured at the half, and we'll also have the first half highlights of this Labor Day Classic with Calgary leading Edmonton by a score of 20-1. And we're 4:34 away from the halftime break.
And I like what Calgary just did to Sean Fleming. Coming after him, rattling him. We saw him in Toronto. He got rattled. He had about 3 punts that were just disastrous after that.
4 receivers wide to the left as Garcia operates from the shotgun. Vince Danielson with his first catch of the afternoon, brought down by Tommy Henry just across midfield. There's also a penalty flag on the play.
Missed the hit, but managed to trip up Danielson.
Alan Pitts was talking to the official, so it may have been an offensive pass interference call against Calgary. There may have been a bit of a pick play.
Well, I think they are running some pick plays because I know that Edmonton likes to run a lot of zone protection, but they are being caught in man. And whenever you're in man and a guy springs that wide open, something's happening in the middle there.
Attention all Stampeder fans with the fans.
Travis Miller was the player that was flagged.
16 report at halftime.
Danny Barrett,
office at the South
quarterback coach, doesn't like the call, but that's understandable.
You never like that call because when you're running a pick play, you're trying to do it nonchalantly like you're brushing against the girl you like in the bar.
First and 10 from the 38-yard line. You're talking about somebody else. I don't know what you mean by that term bar.
I meant hotel.
Alan Pitts makes the catch, gets a block from Dwayne Ford, and takes the ball up to the 47 of Calgary.
Well, that's an excellent call, and I'll tell you what they did. They lined up Alan Pitts in such a situation that Bruce Dixon, the middle linebacker, Edmonton's got to cover him, and there's just no way that Bruce is going to stay with him step for step across the field like that.
25-yard gain for Alan Pitts. He has the Stampeders' only 100-yard pass receiving game this year.
And you can see Bruce Dixon's trying to keep up with him, but Alan Pitts is just a lot faster, and you'd think that he missed a few games. He's a lot fresher.
First and 10 now from the 47 of the Eskimos, again from the shotgun. Garcia looks out into the flat. Travis Moore makes the catch, and he'll get another Calgary first down.
And they're confusing Edmonton's defensive backs right now. They're lining them up to one side of the field. They're running two to the same place. They're both breaking off at the same time, and the defensive backs aren't sure if they should stay with that receiver or the other receiver. What's happening is one is always coming free right now. They're confusing the defensive backs.
Well, this team in red and black has a 4-5 record, but those 4 losses are a little misleading in that 3 of them were by a total of 4 points, 2 by 1 point and the other by 2 points. 3:02 remains in the half. Jeff Garcia has directed his Stampeders into a 20-1 lead with 3:02 remaining in the first half. And he has the Stampeders first and 10 from the 37 of the Eskimos. 4 receivers wide to the left. Garcia looking for Anderson. He's got him, and Anderson will get another first down. Willie Pless came over to make the tackle.
And when things are going right, things are going right. They got 4 receivers to the left. They spread out the defense. They pull the linebackers out. Little quick pass to Anderson. Makes the most out of it. Gets a first down.
Well, the Stampeders in the last 4 Labor Day battles have won by big margins. They're threatening to do the same again in this 1997 Classic. Garcia has completed 8 of 10 passes for 107 yards. This time, he moves up in behind center Jamie Crysdale. Again, 4 receivers to the left to get to Anderson, and Anderson is caught from behind and brought down by Maurice Miller. In 1993, it was 33-13 Calgary. In 94, 48-15 Calgary. In 95, 51-26. That's when Jeff Garcia took the controls and had the great game. And last year, it was 31-13.
They have had some great success, and I tell you what, this is what they talk about, home field advantage. But when you get in a rhythm, like Calgary's in right now, they're tough.
And it's been a balanced offense for Calgary today from the shotgun. Moore fumbles the football. Or Vaughn, I should say, but it's...
that's a lucky break for Edmonton.
Ruled an incomplete pass.
Calling it an incomplete pass. Had Vaughn taken one more step, they would have called it a possession. Edmonton would have got a break. But you're right, Calgary is spreading the receivers. They've hit Vaughn, they're hitting Moore, they've hit Pitts. They had one pass that didn't count to Danielson. They're really mixing it up, but they're also doing a whole lot of plays. They're doing a really, really good job of confusing Edmonton's defense.
2:07 is the time remaining. An injured, looks like Tommy Henry, the injured Eskimo player.
Who's a will linebacker. And he's not a very big guy. He's only 190 pounds.
There's a lot of rotation defensively for the Eskimos during the course of a game. Maurice Miller will come into the game as a down lineman, and he is also going to come into the game on occasion as a linebacker. He takes over from Tommy Henry. About the only member of the front 7 for the Eskimos who doesn't rotate in and out of the lineup is Willie Pless.
Well, and that's pretty smart. I wouldn't take that guy out. I mean, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. He is the key to that defense. And right now, what I notice they're doing, they're having a tendency right now to pick on Dixon in the middle. They're trying to get mismatch of speed. They've done it with the running back, and they've done it with Mr. Pitts.
So on 3rd and 8, Mark McLaughlin will attempt a field goal from 31 yards out. Twice McLaughlin has kicked for 220 points in a season. He has had 6 200-plus season years, and the year he just missed, he had 199.
And he had a rough start this year, and he had some personal things going with his father passing away, but he also had contact problems, and he was having really trouble concentrating and focusing on where he was kicking the ball. He got that straightened out, and he's been hot ever since.
23-1 with 2:03 remaining in the half as McLaughlin hits on his second field goal attempt of the game. The Eskimos scrimmage 1st and 10 from the 35. The Eskimos so far in this game have just 88 yards total offense. Blunt on the receiving end of the pass, and he is taken out of bounds by Eddie Davis.
And you got to give them credit, the Calgary Stampeders, that is, because of the fact that Edmonton comes into the game being the #1 rated offense in the league per yards per game, over 365 yards a game on average.
These teams meet again on Friday night at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. Talking with Hugh Campbell before the game, he said they're expecting a big crowd for this return engagement. This is Flutie on the receiving end of the throw, taking it to midfield. His first catch of the day. They attempted to go to him earlier. That's a 14-yard gain.
A slant pattern, comes outside, lines up to the right, comes across the middle, but they've got to get Darren Flutie involved in the football game. He is their go-to guy. He is their clutch receiver. Get him involved. Does a nice job. Davis has to make the tackle.
1st and 10 for Edmonton. They are at midfield with 1:44 now remaining in the half. Flutie again. Talking about a go-to guy, Danny McManus. When he needs a big play, looks for number 82. At that time, it results in a 14-yard pickup.
And one of the things about Darren Flutie does so well is he reads the coverage. He's not the fastest receiver, but what he does is he gets behind the linebackers and sits in front of the defensive backs, makes the catch. Smart football.
Another 14 for
Shannon Myers goes wide to the left this time. Tolbert comes out to the right. McManus fakes, looks over to the other side of the field, and he's got Shannon Myers, and that should be a first down in the vicinity of the 30-yard line.
And that was Danny McManus' third receiver he was looking at. He originally was coming to the right here. He was looking at Tolbert. He was looking at Flutie. Goes back, has time to pick up his third receiver. And Myers makes a nice catch again, coming back to the ball.
That's something Myers did so well in his debut in Toronto. He went after the football.
And he kept the defender to his back. Always keep the defender behind you.
To the sidelines intended for Myers, and Coleman was over defending against him.
And one guy we haven't seen yet, Don, and we have to wonder about why they're not going into him, is Robert Gordon.
Well, Robert Gordon came up with a big fumble recovery. There was some concern that Gordon would play in this game. He wasn't feeling well this morning, and they didn't know whether he would be able to suit up, but he is in the football game.
2nd down and 10 for the Eskimos.
58 seconds remaining. 2nd and 10 from the 30-yard line. Calgary showing blitz, and here they come. This one was deflected.
We have got to see this. I tell you what, 34 burst picks up the blitzing. They have a sting, the safety on a blitz, and I'm not even sure if he knows what city he's in right now. John Kalin comes up the middle here and just gets popped right to the right of your screen, right over here. Unbelievable. Great hit by Tony Burse.
Darrell Hall was defending against Robert Gordon. And now Sean Fleming will attempt a field goal from 37 yards out. He's missed 2 field goal tries so far in this game. This time it's good. And importantly for the Edmonton Eskimos, they do get some points out of this drive on what will probably be their final possession before heading to the dressing room at halftime. 23-4 the score with 49 seconds remaining. Wally Buono had an interesting comment yesterday in discussing his Stampeders. He said, everybody wants us to be what we were, but we aren't.
I don't think Wally's got to worry about it, because right now, this is your meat and potato part of the season. This is where it all counts. Doesn't matter what you did the first half. That's done.
Well, in 1993, and referring to the past, the Stampeders came into this game with a perfect 9-0 record. Garcia's in some trouble. He ran away from it up to the 38-yard line, brought down there by Willie Pless and Leroy Blue.
And one of the things you can't teach a quarterback is spider senses, and he feels the pressure.
Alvin Hunter, number 46, also on the tackle. 4 yards to Garcia.
Pless is a tough man to get a helmet on and try and block out of the play. The Eskimos do a good job of providing him with some protection so that he can make the tackle.
Yeah, you want to get the defensive lineman to try and occupy as many people as he can. Willie Pless has to make the tackle. He's the key to their defense.
Pressure was coming up the middle as the Eskimos were blitzing. Pass was intended for Alan Pitts. It falls incomplete.
Now, for the first time, we're seeing Edmonton doing some of those things. They're bringing Willie Pless on a middle dog or a blitz up the middle. You got to start changing that. You can't rely on just a four-man pressure right now, because Garcia is eating them up.
25 seconds remaining in the half. The Eskimos will get the ball back, and they would dearly love to narrow the gap between themselves and the Stampeders. 23-4 the score. The Eskimos still have a timeout remaining. And the Gizmo is a guy who could give them instant field position. Henry Williams will field it at the 19. He's down at the 30-yard line. Good coverage. Henry and Reinson were there to make the tackle after an 11-yard return.
Key tackle, too, because as you said, Don, Edmonton, what they want to do is hopefully get a good return out of Williams, get some field position, possibly come away with 3 points, maybe a touchdown.
Still one timeout remaining for the Eskimos as they scrimmage 1st and 10 from their 30-yard line.
I think one of the things that Calgary is really doing is mixing Danny McManus up, is they're changing the depth that they're dropping their linebackers. Sometimes they're short, sometimes they're deep, and he runs routes that are particularly read by the slot backs. And if they're changing the route, the timing's off, and that's why the pressure's there.
Handoff inside to Tony Burse, and Burse picks up about 2 yards with 11 seconds remaining. Darrell Hall was in on the stop, along with Miller.
Gain of 2.
And it looks as though the Eskimos are going to be quite content to let the clock run out here in the first half. McManus gives to Eric Blunt, and Blunt gets back to the line of scrimmage and not much more. And that will end the first half in this Labor Day Classic here at McMahon Stadium, with the Calgary Stampeders leading the Edmonton Eskimos by a score of 23-4.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by TELUS. Basic human communication.
Welcome back to the Labor Day Classic, where it's all Calgary at halftime of Game 1 of our Labor Day doubleheader. 23-4 Stampeders. And of course, this is the scene here at Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton, where we'll play the nightcap at 7 Eastern. The Argos and Tiger Cats, and the tailgate party is already getting fired up at Ivor Wynne. Well, Calgary's Alan Pitts is making a personal comeback this season. His on-the-field feats are well documented. He's great, but off the field, he's been a troubled athlete. Last year, he was stopped at the border bringing steroids into the country. This year, he missed the first 7 games when he injured his hand in a bizarre incident. This week, we caught up with Alan to hear his story. Alan, at the time you had your hand surgery, there was all kinds of speculation that your career might be finished as a football player. I mean, after all, that's the way you apply your trade, with your hands. Was there ever any doubt in your mind that you'd be back? And when you came back, you seemed to prove everybody wrong by having a 100-yard game and a touchdown in your first game back.
Was there ever any doubt? Yeah, definitely. For a while, you know, football wasn't even, definitely wasn't the main part of what I was thinking about. There were some things I needed to change personally, some things I needed to deal with, and I was focused on that. I had an idea if I took care of all those things, or at least was conscious of and made an effort to work on them, then football could come back into my life. So that's the way I've approached this. And, you know, coming back in and being able to play comfortably out there, I think that's helped.
Well, what was taking your mind off of football? I mean, you're going to go down as one of the greatest receivers of all time in this league, but you always seemed a little unhappy.
Yeah, well, you know, I think it's just a lot of things that have happened in my life over the years. And, you know, this past off season, some other things happened personally, and it just, you know, everything just got kind of overwhelming there for a while.
Well, what happened? What can you...
I just had some personal issues that, you know, I needed to deal with. And I think that's always been a part of my unhappiness. You know, I could always, whatever was going on around me, if I thought it was somebody else that was doing me wrong or something like that, you know, when I was by myself, I always looked at the situation, and it always pointed back at me. You know, so I needed to change some things with Alan. And once I did that, you know, I started to feel a whole lot better about myself.
What happened to your hand? I mean, there have been so many versions that you punched a wall, that somebody broke it in a fight. Tell us your story.
As I've already stated earlier this year, that I was involved in a fight, and I broke my hand in that fight. And, you know, that's really as far as I need to go into it. It was a situation that I didn't need to be in, but I found myself in. There are some parts of the whole ordeal that I regret, but going through the whole thing, I don't regret, because it's definitely made me look at things I need to look at beforehand that I wasn't, and it's made me feel a whole lot better about myself today.
So you feel that personally you've come through a change, that you've turned a corner, that maybe that incident, that fight, was part of the trouble you've been having with yourself?
Well, that was just a part of it. You know, that was just a part of the whole experience. But yes, definitely I've made a change. I've gone through something that today I look at that I needed to go through. Sometimes, well, I don't say sometimes, but, you know, I can look at the fact that, you know, I went through this. It wasn't that pleasant while I was going through it, but today I can look at it and say, you know, it was a good thing that I did go through it.
And here you are, number 4 all-time on the CFL reception list, ahead of Tommy Joe Coffey this year, and a bright future still ahead. Good luck with the Stampeders.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks for your time.
Okay.
So Alan Pitts turns over a new leaf, and boy, is he ever back. 2 touchdowns in his first 2 games, and here on Labor Day, making his presence felt with 2 catches for 30 yards, including a 2-point conversion for the Stampeders. At the half, Calgary in front of Edmonton, 23-4. Our first half analysis with Don and Chris when we come back.
Well, the Stampeders enjoy a 19-point halftime lead. 23-4 is the margin by which they lead the Edmonton Eskimos. The Calgary Stampeders put together a couple of pretty good drives late in the game. Danny McManus finally found Darren Flutie with a couple of passes. Are you a little surprised that he didn't try to go to Flutie earlier in the ballgame?
Well, I think Flutie and Danny McManus have been the Stampeder killers in the past. You've got to use him big time. But one thing that really surprises me is they have not gone deep to Robert Gordon and stretched that Calgary defense. And if they don't, they're in for a long afternoon.
Well, Darren Flutie didn't really become a factor in the ball game until late in the first half.
And I think they hit him in 2, and this is the first of 2. And it's just a slant in, getting one-on-one coverage, and he beats Eddie Davis. And this is what they got to do. But the linebackers are starting to flow backwards, taking that away. So that's why he's got to go deep.
The Stampeders have been able to put some pressure on Danny McManus as well.
And Brunzell Miller does a great job coming up the middle, but Steve Anderson is responsible for that by beating Raham and causing Danny to start moving around a little bit, get out of the pocket. good job by the defense.
Well, some early pressure against the Eskimos got them into a little difficulty back in their own end of the field, and as a result, the Stampeders were able to capitalize, and that's the reason they lead by a score of 23-4. We're just about set for the second half here at McMahon Stadium, with the 7-2 Edmonton Eskimos needing a big second half if they're going to overcome this 19-point deficit. Well, the majority of these 37,000-plus fans have enjoyed what they've witnessed during the first half here at McMahon Stadium. There is a large contingent of fans from Edmonton in attendance as well, and it hasn't been as pleasant for them. Statistically, the Eskimos have more passing yards, but along the ground, Calvin Anderson primarily has led the ground game. 93 rushing yards for the Stampeders, and in terms of total yards, 200 yards for the Stampeders in their 23-4 lead. But Jeff Garcia recalls all too well the season opener on June the 25th. His team led by a score of 15-1 at the half and 22-8 after 3 quarters. It saw the Eskimos score 15 unanswered fourth quarter points for a 23-22 win. So you can never count out the Edmonton Eskimos, and they will have the wind at their back to start the second half. Henry Williams takes the ball at the 24-yard line. Tries to get to the outside, but is prevented from getting there by Chris Lewis.
Good initial coverage by the Calgary people downfield. And you know what they have? They have really good feather contain, which means the people that are following at a farther back distance. Just in case Gizmo breaks through the first wave of tacklers, there's somebody there.
And at halftime, Chris, you were talking about Danny McManus and the fact he didn't go to Flutie until late in the first half, as we see.
Got great coverage right here. They're coming through here with Ryan. And one of the nice things, he makes the initial break through the front line. Secondary people, bang.
You have to wonder whether McManus is completely healed from that injury. He goes over the middle to Robert Gordon. Doesn't seem to have quite as much zip on his throws as we have seen in the past.
No, he seems to be doing a real short game, living off that short game and hoping the receiver, after making the catch, can do something with it. The only reason I like that play is at least you're getting Gordon in the game. It's a shame when you got a receiver his speed and he's not catching the ball, and a lot of times they can go into a funk and not be effective for you at all.
Blunt coming out of the backfield, the leading receiver in the first half for the Eskimos. 2nd and 9 now for Edmonton. They are at their own 42-yard line. McManus operating from the shotgun. This time he fires one over the middle, and it is Darren Flutie with a first down at the 51-yard line. There appeared to be a little more zip in that one.
There was, and one of the things again is Darren Flutie. Again, we got to give credit to him. He's reading the coverage here. It's a zone. He's just sitting behind the linebacker right in front of Eddie Davis. Makes a nice grab. That's how you move the chains. And that's what they did so effectively when they did come back, or when they did beat the Stampeders earlier in the year.
From the Calgary 51.
1st and 10 now for the Eskimos from the 51 of Calgary. Inside handoff to Eric Blunt. He tries to bounce it to the outside, and Anderson is there to bring him down.
And they're trying to do a little bit of a trapping action, or bringing linemen down across the field and trying to trap. And I think what's happening with Calgary, the interior guys are coming up, but they're staying with their guys. They're not really getting a clear shot at them, and it's causing a big jumble up there. They might be better off just running straight ahead and trying to get something off tackle.
Alondra Johnson was critical of his teammates after their loss last week to the BC Lions. He didn't feel that everybody was playing with intensity for a full 60 minutes. Along the sidelines intended for Tolbert, and it's incomplete. He was being covered by Coleman. That's about the longest pass attempt we have seen so far from McManus.
And we talked about this halftime. He's got to go deep to stretch the defense. The linebackers are playing too tight to the line, which hurts their running game. Good play for them right there, even though they didn't complete the pass.
37,611. The official attendance figure at McMahon Stadium this afternoon. Coleman and Vaughn are back for this 3rd down punt by Sean Fleming. Good high kick that is going to sail into the end zone. And Vaughn will concede a single point on a 56-yard kick. There is also a late penalty flag. We'll sort it out for you when we return with 12:21 left in the third quarter. Fans of all ages and in a variety of attire here at McMahon Stadium enjoying this Labor Day Classic. An illegal block, the reason for the penalty flag against Calgary. The penalty declined by the Eskimos, so it's a 23-5 football game, 1st and 10 from the 25-yard line. Hand off to Calvin Anderson, and he picks up about 5 yards before being stopped by Leroy Blue.
And they are almost starting on every drive the same way. Let's pound the ball. We're just going right here. You can see these fellas right here. They are controlling the line of scrimmage right now. That's what they're doing. They're pushing them back, and they're letting Calvin Anderson pick his holes. Good job.
Second down, it'll be 5 yards from the 30.
That was part of the Calgary game plan, to try and run the football against the Eskimos. And they'll stay on the ground with Anderson again. He gets the first down.
Anderson again. And the spin move gets him the first down.
And you know things are going good when your line block is on the good side on the left, and you can come back to the right and do the same play, and you're getting first downs. You can march it all the way down the field. This will totally destroy a defense. Right here you can see the hole again. Offensive lineman on the right side doing a great job.
Chris Burns, 6'4", 292. Fred Childress, 6'4", 330 on the right side of that Calgary offensive line. From the shotgun, Garcia was looking for Pitts, and he's brought down by Bruce Dixon. Here's a young man getting an opportunity to play with the retirement of Larry Ruck, and he has really made some strides this year.
You know what? Earlier in the game, they were victimizing Bruce Dixon, putting him in coverage situations that he couldn't cover. This time he stays at home. His key is Garcia. You want to run with the ball, big guy? I'm going to be there. He meets him in the hole, makes a nice grab.
Simon Fraser product playing the middle for the Edmonton Eskimos between Tommy Henry and Willie Pless. A loss of 2 at 2nd and 12 for the Stampeders. Garcia in the shotgun. Here comes the blitz. Garcia goes over the middle, intended for Pitts. There's a penalty flag. Glenn Rogers is going to be called.
And that's a good call. Glenn Rogers did come over Alan Pitts' back. And the good thing about Alan Pitts, he's such an experienced receiver. We talked about Shannon Myers doing this for Edmonton, and that's shielding the defender away from the ball. The only way he can knock it down is by coming over you. And if he doesn't do it properly, it's going to be an interference call every time.
Well, as Alan Pitts said in the halftime interview with Mark Lee, he had to cast aside some personal demons. Anger, resentment, loneliness, depression, all part of his makeup. He's changed his attitude.
Forward pass interference. Edmonton, number 26. First down, Calgary.
10:22 remaining in the third quarter as the penalty gives Calgary a first down.
And this is a key drive for Edmonton. They have got to stop Calgary. They can't let Calgary come and take the first time they get the ball and march it down the field and score.
Glenn Rogers leads the CFL with interceptions. Coming into the game, he had half a dozen. Defensive player of the week for his performance last week. From the shotgun, 6 receivers out there, and Garcia decides to run. A 7-yard gain. Hunter made the tackle. There's also a penalty flag.
Sometimes when your offensive line's playing well, it tries to do certain things it doesn't really have to do, and Melvin Hunter gets pulled down here, and that's definitely a holding.
Holding, Calgary, number 68. First down repeated.
You'd think a guy at 6'4", 330 pounds, the big chill, wouldn't have to hold. And you never held during your career, did you?
Only when I got caught, and I still detested those ones.
Back to the 34, 1st and 20.
1st and 20 now, back at the 34-yard line. 23-5. The Stampeders lead the Eskimos. 4 receivers to the left this time. Here's the blitz. There's the pass. Incomplete.
Jeff Garcia's pass intended to...
This is good football by Edmonton. Bringing the blitz, bringing Willie Pless on a delay, waiting for the snap of the ball, trying to time it. Bam, getting into Garcia's face. The lineman can't make the adjustment. Wrecks the play, throws his rhythm off. He's going to get a little frustrated if they keep doing that. Edmonton has to keep doing certain things like that to keep him off his rhythm.
Garcia was looking for Travis Moore as he had to hurry the throw in face of the pressure from Willie Plus. Second and 20 now. Again from the shotgun. Vaughn, the only receiver out to the right. The pass goes left. Incomplete. Again, it was Travis Moore.
And actually had Travis Moore. Travis Moore had the play, came in, stopped, set down in front of the receiver, in front of the DB, excuse me. Had the pass be a little lower, would have been a completion. But sometimes when a quarterback is starting to get a little pressure, he might throw that ball a little before he wants to.
Vince Danielson came into this game tied with Travis Moore as the leading Stampeder receiver, each with 43 catches. So far, Garcia has not been able to put the ball in Danielson's hands.
And that's what you want. You want to get Danielson in there. And we were wondering about this with the return of Alan Pitts. You'd think because of the double coverage that Danielson might be a little bit more open.
Williams fields the punt, penalty flag, and that usually indicates no yards.
And that'll give Edmonton some good field position right now.
8:54 is the time remaining in the third quarter. Quarterback coach Danny Barrett talking to the receivers, explaining particularly to Alan Pitts what Edmonton was doing defensively on that last series.
And I think a lot of times what happens when you're a guy of Alan Pitts' caliber is you try and ad-lib, do things on your own, and that might be causing the problems right there.
Illegal procedure declined. The no yards accepted by the Eskimos for a first down at the 54-yard line. McManus deep for Flutie, incomplete.
And I believe we have a late hit, big time, on Anthony McClanahan. And I'll check that other number for you here.
And Danny McManus.
Steve Anderson
remains down.
Roughing the passer, Calgary, number 41. First down, Edmonton.
Late hit there by McClanahan. Anderson was also there, but McClanahan's number was called by referee Ken Lazarek.
Well, when you get two of them there, they're just going to pick one. But the problem is they're both guilty on that one. And I think the frustration is starting to build. They're trying to get in there, getting close to Danny. But Danny has been airing the ball deep like we talked about. Now they're trying to get a shot on him. Unfortunately, you got to do, and then the whistle. Can't do it after the whistle.
Jim Kemp is warming up. McManus was very slow in getting up, but we talked earlier about McManus not seeming to have as much zip in his throws in the first half and not going deep. He has in this second half.
Yeah, I think he's really starting to find his niche, and maybe his shoulders warmed up a little bit. You know, sometimes that can happen.
Burse ran into a brick wall, tried to reverse his field, and is dropped for a loss.
And Danny has been notorious for coming on strong at the end. He likes those dramatic finishes, so maybe that's what he's saving up for right here.
Bronzel Miller was in on the tackle, and he's playing in his third league this year. He's in the World League.
Here we got the defensive line doing a great job here. Chris Morris getting pushed back, stuff in the hole. There's nowhere for him to go.
Second down. It's 14 to go for the Eskimos.
On second down, the screen pass to Blunt. Roanwagen was out in front of him trying to lead the blocking. There's a penalty flag. Blunt got back just beyond the original line of scrimmage.
This might be a face mask. Or again, maybe another rough play.
And it appears to be going against the Stampeders.
Major foul, face mask, Calgary, number 51. First down, Edmonton.
This could be a costly penalty against Alondra Johnson as the ball is placed down at the 22-yard line. And there's another flag thrown on Alondra Johnson, and obviously he said something to the official.
It's another 15-yard penalty, and I think his emotions are really starting to
Objection of conduct. Calgary, number 51. First down, Edmonton.
Wow, half the distance to the goal line.
You can see it right here. The hand comes in, grabs him. It's a nice way to take somebody down if you're a steer wrestler, but it won't work here in the Canadian Football League.
I referred earlier to Johnson being upset with some of his teammates and making comments. He said, we don't have the right attitude and intensity. Kemp in at quarterback now. Well, that attitude and intensity certainly cost the Stampeders as the pass is complete to Darren Flutie, close to the 2-yard line.
Nice throw, sets up nice in the pocket. Good release, gets a little pressure, puts it on a rope.
After the hit by McClanahan, we said that McManus was slow in getting up. He's on the bench now, and
you can
Jim
see they're
Kemp is
checking
in there as quarterback.
They're checking the shoulder right there.
He said after the game in Toronto, where he was initially hurt, that he had real problems in raising his arm. He seems to be having similar difficulties. 2nd and 2. Kemp fumbles the exchange from center, and Kemp is forced out of bounds.
Definitely a miscommunication between the running back and the quarterback there. One of them thought he was not getting the ball, or that might be one of the plays where the quarterback gives it to him, and he takes it, and he pulls it on a bootleg, and it ended up being a bootleg, and he's lucky he didn't fumble that and turn that ball over to Calgary.
Kemp was fortunate in that he was able to get it back.
Definite miscommunication. That ball was supposed to be taken by the running back. Blunt did not know he was getting the ball. Sometimes when you're losing in a game, your concentration can start to fade, and I think that's what's happening a little bit here. Some of the players, you got to key all the time. Remember, this is a 60-minute game. The coaches will pound it into your head.
So with 6:31 remaining in the 3rd quarter, Sean Fleming will attempt a field goal. An 18-yarder. And it's wide. Initial indication was that it was good, and they're indicating now that it was wide. So it's a single point. And Sean Fleming has had some problems this afternoon. He missed one in the opening quarter, missed one in the 2nd quarter. He's 1 for 4. Well, a great opportunity presented itself for the Eskimos to get right back in this ball game following those 2 penalties against Alondra Johnson. Another wide field goal attempt by Sean Fleming, and it's 23-6 with 6:09 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Farrell Declare, the ball carrier. A gain of 7.
The Calgary's offensive line is really starting to dominate the defensive line of Edmonton, and they're just going to pound it out. Not only is it a great thing to run the ball, but it eats the clock. They got the lead. This is really frustrating to the offense of Edmonton, who needs to get on the field as much as possible to try and get on track.
Willie Pless may be playing in some pain right now. He was very slow in getting up after the last play, the 7-yard gallop by Farrell Declare.
2nd down, about 3.
2nd and 3, and it's Declare again, and he's going to be close to a 1st down. He was a #1 draft pick in 1996 by the Stampeders out of Concordia.
And one of the nice things about having a backup or having a lead like this is you get to use your backups in a game like this, and they get to see playing time when they normally would not.
5 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter.
1st and 10 from the 45.
Inside fake by Garcia. He's going to be nailed and stripped of the ball by Hunter. Oh, did Garcia ever get hit from the blind side?
Oh, I think he's going to be hurt or shook up on that one. He did not see that. That is what you call a hit. That's unsuspecting. That's like walking into a rake on a golf course. That'll wake you up in a hurry. Now there's some controversy of who touched the ball last. Obviously, the last one that touched that ball, that's the team that will have control of it right now.
Well, Jeff Garcia is up, but watch
take
this
a look
hit.
from this side over here. I mean, he's not even looking for that right now.
Melvin Hunter, number 46, made the hit and caused the football.
Sometimes when you're a scrambling quarterback, you can only see it. Your peripheral vision will only cover you for so long. Well, you want to question Garcia's toughness now? I don't think he can.
Calgary after all that at the 46.
And fortunately, the officials ruled for Calgary that they were the last to touch the football. Pass intended for Terry Vaughn. After a hit like that, you think the quarterback can want to get rid of it very quickly.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to scramble on this play, but he's got a good thing. He wants to releases the running back out there. Lets Maurice Miller from Edmonton try and cover him. Just overthrows him a little bit. Here's that play again with Garcia. You can see he's looking downfield. He has nowhere of knowing about this guy coming here. Crunch. That's rib time. That's why they wear those rib protectors, as quarterbacks do.
We thought that maybe Willie Pless was the last to touch the ball before it went out of bounds, but apparently not. Anderson on the receiving end of the throw up to the 55-yard line. That's the first completion for Garcia in his last 7 attempts.
This is some good hustle by Jay McNeil, who's left guard in the play, comes all the way across the field to try and spring him. Good hustle for a big guy like that. When you got 6'3" and 290 pounds, starting to chug up a little bit like that, it's tough to stop.
Stampeders are short of a first down with 3:54 remaining in the third quarter, so they're going to kick it away. Tony Martino will be kicking into the wind. The Stampeders won the coin toss to start the game and as a result deferred their choice to the second half, and they opted to have the wind at their backs in the fourth quarter. So far the Gizmo, the all-time all-purpose yardage man in the CFL, has been silenced in the return game. No yards again and nowhere for the Gizmo to go. A 27-yard punt by Martino. When Melvin Hunter blindsided Jeff Garcia and the ball popped loose, we thought that maybe Willie Pless had touched the ball and knocked it out of bounds. And Pless did touch the ball, but he lost control of it, and I think it goes out of bounds off the knee of Vince Danielson right there. And that was the call, obviously, by the official. McManus is up and throwing at the bench, but Kemp is continuing to direct the attack. Again, he had some problems handling the exchange from center, and his throw is knocked down right at the line of scrimmage by Bronzell Miller.
And Bronzell does a great job here on Rod Conop. You don't see Rod Conop getting beat too many times in his career, but he gets some great push up the middle here. Here's Conop right here, and he keeps going like this. And what you see right now, if you can't get to the quarterback, at least knock the ball down. You can never end up beside the quarterback. That's not a good thing in this league, or in any league.
Bronzell Miller played for Amsterdam in the World League, for Nashville in the Arena League this year, then joined Calgary. He says, I hate football, but I'm good at it.
Well, I hate to be doing something, if I'm getting paid for it, that's a great thing.
Kemp. A low throw. Myers attempted to come back for it, and the Eskimos will be forced to kick it away.
Shannon Myers, number 88, goes incomplete. It is third down.
I just talked to Danny McManus. He just shook his head. He threw the ball a couple of times. He has now got the headset on. I don't think he's going to go back in. He was pretty disgusted with the fact that he has re-injured that right shoulder, and I think he's done for the afternoon.
In talking with McManus prior to the game today, he said he felt really good. He said the shoulder felt fine, but if he re-injured the area that was badly bruised in that Toronto game, he's going to have difficulties throwing.
And we did mention one of the keys was to give him some protection and let him get hit, because of the fact that that very thing might happen, and that's what did happen right now. The only thing now to worry about is how serious is it this time, and will it keep him out for very long?
That was a 44-yard punt by Sean Fleming. No opportunity for Coleman on the return. Now they have a return engagement against these same Calgary Stampeders at Commonwealth Stadium on Friday. People were wondering whether or not McManus would be healthy for this game. Following today's Calgary Edmonton Labor Day clash will be going to Hamilton. David Archer, who will be analyzing the game as Chris Cuthbert calls it for you. Ready for the Toronto-Hamilton battle.
Again, another little miscommunication by Garcia here. They were doing a little trap. Just pulling you can see the guy coming across right there, but miscommunications. Wanted to hand the ball off to Anderson. He didn't take it. Again, some of the problems that arise when you have a big lead in the game.
Errol Martin came in to make the tackle. Fake inside by Garcia. Errol Martin waiting for him. Garcia stepped away from him, and Garcia takes it up to the 30-yard line.
And you mentioned Matt Dunnigan earlier. That is vintage Matt Dunnigan right there. Not even trying to get away from him and running out of bounds. Putting his head down, trying to bowl those guys over. He meets Dixon head-to-head. Watch this collision right here. He's got his head down. He sees where he's got to go. Right there, bang.
Looking for some additional yardage as he took on Glenn Rogers. And it's close enough to call for a measurement.
And that only inspires your team. When you see your quarterback, who's being called, quarterbacks are kind of prima donnas and stuff like that. They should wear dresses. But when you see your quarterbacks running like that, taking on middle linebackers, that's got to get you fired up.
Okay, down third and about a yard, it appears as though Wally Buono was going to gamble with 1:23 remaining in this third quarter. So far on third down gambles, Garcia has carried both times and has been successful. The offensive story for the Calgary Stampeders to this stage of the football game, and they lead on the board as well by a 23-6 margin. Penalty flags as Dixon tried to come up over the top to meet Garcia head on.
Edmonton's going to jump the gun a little bit. They're lining up offside. They're trying to do anything they can to change the momentum right now.
Offside the call against the Eskimos, signals referee Ken Lazaruk.
And an easy 5 yards and a first down.
Offside, Edmonton, number 38. First down, Calgary.
Errol Martin is the man who moved prematurely, so it is a first down for the Stampeders. But the Eskimos right now have to be thinking, particularly that man, Ron Lancaster, about the Friday rematch and what he might be forced to do if he doesn't have his #1 quarterback, Danny McManus, ready to play.
Well, I'd be very surprised to see him back.
Anderson, the ball carrier, he's tripped up after picking up a couple of yards as we move into the final minute of the third quarter.
And you can tell that Calgary's offensive line is having fun right now. Being an offensive lineman in this league for a number of years, one of the funnest things is when you can have an opportunity to tee off and tee off continually on defensive linemen, because they're always yapping at you, talking to you, making fun of your mama. You don't like that kind of stuff. So when you can knock them in the teeth, it's a great feeling.
The way Edmonton rotates their defensive linemen, does that pose any problem for an offensive line?
I think if it's a hot day and the conditions are really like that, humid, yeah, that might be something. But right now, it's not bad. They're not even thinking about it right now. They're enjoying it too much.
Vince Danielson has his first catch of the afternoon. Along the sidelines in front of the Stampeder bench, a gain of 10 yards.
And Garcia's coming back. He's been running the ball effectively. He's got everybody coming tight to the line now. He just rolls out to the right now and throws a little dump pass to Danielson, makes a first down. He's using all his weapons right now. And that's got to be so frustrating for Edmonton because they don't know if they should stay in tight, play the run, spread out, play the pass.
First and 10, Stampeders at the Calgary 50.
Anderson, the lone setback behind quarterback Jeff Garcia. He gets the ball and gets about 6 yards.
Number 32, Calvin Anderson.
And that is also the final play of the third quarter here at McMahon Stadium, with the Stampeders leading 23-6. remaining in the Labor Day battle before a capacity crowd of 37,611. And for the fans dressed in yellow and gold, it hasn't been a great afternoon. They'll be looking for revenge on Friday in the return engagement at Commonwealth Stadium. The offensive line for the Stampeders has done a pretty good job in opening some holes for Calvin Anderson and Farrell DeClaire.
Well, they were under a little bit of heat from last week from BC game. They've come out and done the job, both passing and running the ball.
2nd and 3 for Calgary. First play of the 4th quarter, and Anderson reaches out to the 50-yard line. He'll be very close to a first down. It may require a measurement.
And you would think, being a running back, that if you got the ball 30 times a game or something, you'd be tired. But it's funny how running backs, the more they get it, the happier are. Willie Plus trying to come and make some play. Wraps up, nice play, nice tackle. You'd expect that out of your defensive player of the year. But he is looking a little shaken.
Coming into this game, Willie Pless leading the league with 55 tackles, 961 during his career. 4 times he's been named the outstanding defensive player in the CFL. Another 3rd down gamble for the Calgary Stampeders, and they've been perfect so far, 3 for 3.
Again, it's 3rd and short, Stampeders.
Look for Garcia to keep. He just steps to the right of Jamie Crysdale.
Yeah.
What about these calls, Chris? The decision of the quarterback and which way to go.
Well, usually you'll go against your big guy, but if you got 2 big hogs in there, Freddie Jones is 330 pounds. If I'm a quarterback, I'm following him all the way. Not only to the lunchroom, for the first down.
When he was a teammate of yours, it looks like you might have followed him to the lunchroom.
Thanks a lot, Don. I can still see my shoes, though, and I'm happy to say that I'm wearing... Hang on, let me check.
The statistical story through 3 quarters. 1 rushing yard for the Edmonton Eskimos in this ball game compared to the 136 along the ground for the Stampeders, and that's been one of the big differences. Garcia looking for Ford out in the flat. Pless was looking for Ford, and Ford was looking to run before the ball got there.
And they're not used to Ford catching the ball. He doesn't have a whole lot of catches this year. But one of the things that's happening also, when you run the ball and beat up and beat up and beat up on the Edmonton people, they get tired. Now they start throwing the ball. It's like, when is this quarter going to end?
It will be 2nd and 10 from the 49 of the Eskimos.
Calgary from the 49.
Garcia was trying to drill it over the middle for Danielson, and Derek Beattie was defending against him. So the Stampeders will be forced to kick it away.
Really nice coverage by Beattie that time. Danielson just running a little slant across the middle. Garcia puts it on a rope, maybe even throws it too hard. And one of the things that Garcia probably over the years is going to develop some touch on the ball. And he's going to get even better.
Tony Martino, who leads the CFL in punting average, hasn't had a great deal of work this afternoon. And he'll have the wind at his back for this 3rd down kick with 13:06 remaining in the 4th quarter. Saw some pressure coming up the middle. It went off the side of his foot and out of bounds. And they'll spot it at about the 24-yard line.
Tony Martino.
12:57 remains after that 25-yard kick by Martino.
The injuries are taking their toll on the Edmonton Eskimos in this Labor Day Classic. The last player to lead the game, Tony Burse, now has a bandage on his left hand. It's covered in ice. Burse slammed the water bottle down to the artificial turf, and I think he's finished for the day. So McManus is out, and now Tony Burse.
A couple of big losses as far as offensive personnel are concerned for the Eskimos. All sorts of movement at the line of scrimmage. Marvin Pope moved prior to the ball being snapped.
Well, with Burris getting out of the game, that gives Jay Hamilton a chance to play, University of Alberta graduate. I'm sure he's got some fans here.
Still first down.
Pope just jumps offside. He's anticipating big time the count.
You know, talked about injuries to players, and when we were talking with Ron Lancaster about Benny Goods, you made a comment. You said he was one of the best. You played against him at anticipating the snap.
And he would get a lot of penalties, and especially if he had a quarterback who starts doing cadence, playing with the cadence and his voice control, you can make him jump a lot.
Intended for Flutie, defended by McClanahan. A bit of a character who marches to his own drummer, who is taking wrestling lessons. He's at the Stu Hart Wrestling School here in Calgary. What are they going to call him? The Crayola Kid?
Well, first he was the Gremlin. Now he's the Crayola Kid. He hands out crayons to all the kids. Unbelievable. He's got the painted hair, so.
And here he is. He tells me he's looking for a tag team partner. Are you available?
Well,
Kemp's in big trouble. Down he goes at the 32.
Ernie Brown gets a sack on that play, but I think they were all back there. When things are going right, your defense is hot. They're pushing back Edmonton's offensive line. They've controlled them all day. It's a dejected group of offensive linemen walking back to Edmonton's bench. But they will live to regroup and play another day.
Stevenson, Brown, and Miller were all in on quarterback Jim Kemp.
Speaking about McClanahan Wrestling, Glenn Kolka, who used to play in this league, just signed a contract with the WWF, making some big U.S. greenbucks.
Third down punt by Sean Fleming. It bounces in front of Terry Vaughn. And there's nowhere to go. Maurice Miller and Mike Sellers, the first two downfield. The second half of our Labor Day doubleheader comes your way on the CBC television network from Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton as the Ticats entertain the Toronto Argonauts. They're looking for a good crowd at Ivor Wynne on this Labor Day afternoon. Anthony Calvillo hopes to get the Hamilton offense untracked, but Doug Flutie is the man that they'll have to stop. First of all, try and keep the ball out of his hands if Calvillo is going to have an opportunity to get anything going.
And one of the things they talk about Doug Flutie is the best way to beat him is to keep him off the field. Limit his time on the field.
Moore came back to the football and made the catch at the 50-yard line for a Calgary first down. A 17-yard pickup for Travis Moore.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the first times that Calgary's come out and opened a drive with a pass. They've really been punishing Edmonton's defense with the run all day. And I wonder if they were not setting them up and Edmonton thinking they were going to run, and lo and behold, they throw a pass.
Well, Ian Hallworth, the physical therapist for the Edmonton Eskimos, has had a busy afternoon. Two of the more serious injuries to Danny McManus and Tony Burse. And Derek Beattie is the player now down.
The only thing that I'd ever like to question is, and I've been playing 16 years, why is it that when a team is losing bad, there is a greater correlation of injuries to that team?
Maybe you're taking a bigger pounding than the other guys.
Is that what it is? Or is it you just want to get back on a team bus and go home?
Jim Kemp replaced Danny McManus on the 14th of August in the 38-14 loss to the Toronto Argonauts. And with McManus out of the lineup on August the 21st against the Hamilton Ticats, Kemp was the quarterback in a 28-24 win. Derek Beattie is still down, and the Calgary athletic therapist, Pat Clayton, now comes over to lend assistance.
Who is the third string quarterback for Edmonton?
Is that Marcus Crandell? This injury to Beattie might be more serious than we first thought. He was shaken up earlier in the ball game, but was able to continue.
One of the things you hate to see when a defensive back or anybody makes a tackle is using your head. He gets his head in there and he gets the top of his head. They always teach you to lead with your face mask if you have to hit with your helmet at all. He jammed his neck, and that's scary because that's when you can run into some serious spinal problems. We just hope everything's okay here.
Calgary Stampeders' next home game is on Sunday, September 14th.
11:03 is the time remaining here at McMahon Stadium in a 23-6 Calgary lead.
Sunday, September 14th.
On the field, continuing concern as to the health of Derek Beattie. The good thing is, I suppose if there is something positive in this situation, is that they were able to turn him over on his back, and he was able to move his feet.
Yeah, that's one of those situations that if it was really serious, you would have seen a spinal board come out, and they would have had to very gingerly lift him on that to not move any muscles in the neck, because that's something you don't want to play with. That's a good sign when they roll him over.
The incident took place directly in front of the Edmonton bench, and players are there and looking on, and perhaps other players saying a silent prayer for Derek Beattie.
Well, no matter how much you hate a team, and those Calgary guys may hate Edmonton, that's on the field. Off the field, they're buddies. They play golf together, do a lot of things together, and so there's that friendship there, and there's that fellowship, and you hate to see one of yours, no matter what team you're on, have a season or maybe a career-ending injury.
He appeared to get his head ducked down underneath Travis Moore in trying to make this hit. Kavis Reed was coming from the other side.
Yeah, he caught the top of his head to the back of his head, and that, you know, that's anytime you hit that, it'll smack your head down where your chin hits your chest. That really causes some pressure to the back of your spine.
But you saw how quickly the man in white, looking back now to the bench, Pat Clayton, ran out onto the field. He's the head therapist for the Calgary Stampeders, and he also runs a Canadian Sport Rehab Institute here in Calgary that deals with a number of our national teams, and the women's national hockey team will be training here and is training here now. They have called for the stretcher and the ambulance.
Well, that might just be precautionary because, you know, Pat Clayton and all these athletic therapists, and they want to make sure they get him in the right situation where proper doctors can look at him and not take any chances with this.
Well, Ian Hallworth, who looks after the Edmonton Eskimos, I'm sure was quite pleased to have his counterpart on the Calgary side of the field come out there to help.
Don, I can tell you that Beattie is conscious. He is talking to the training staff and the medical people that are around him now. They have rolled up a whole bunch of towels and put it in back of his neck. The ambulance is making its way onto the field here at McMahon Stadium, so they're not obviously taking any chances at all with the seriousness of this injury, and they're going to get him into the ambulance and probably on his way to hospital to check him out. But he is conscious, and his legs were moving, which is always a very positive sign.
Well, the Eskimos had a very serious injury, of course, a few years back with James Bell. And I'm sure anytime there is a neck injury, they are going to take every precaution. But this has certainly brought a hush over the crowd here at McMahon Stadium. They realize the seriousness of this particular situation, all 37,611.
And it's a situation where normally in a game you would never have, during a game, members of the opposite team congregating in a certain area discussing things, and you know they're all discussing the situation of Beattie on the sideline there. And I'm sure across the viewing audience and the fans and everyone, they're all concerned to make sure that he's okay.
Well, there is the possibility for serious injury in such a contact sport as football. And it's amazing how few people really do become seriously hurt with all the contact that is made. Kavis Reed was right in there involved in that collision, and he seems to be quite upset over what just took place. He was coming from one side on Travis Moore, and Derek Beattie was coming from the other, and it was Beattie who unfortunately got his head buckled under Travis Moore.
Yeah, Kavis comes in here, and it's one of those unfortunate situations where he hits with the wrong part of his body and gets it caught and snaps his head down. And I don't believe it had anything to do with Kavis Reed. I think of just the way he tackled him. And maybe Kavis Reed's feeling a little bit because he was on the other side and he couldn't, you know, the weight and the momentum.
Well, players on both teams have assembled on the field and are looking at what is taking place over by the ambulance as they tend to the injured Derek Beattie. Beattie was a free agent signing by the Eskimos last year.
You know, one thing about defensive backs also is they're almost like of the receiver mold. They don't like to wear any equipment that they don't need. You can't get them to wear thigh pads, hip pads, anything that they might help them if they got hit there. And sometimes you're going to see, and you know, I'm sure Beattie will be okay. I'm hoping he will be. But one of the things might happen is he'll be wearing a neck roll next time, just to eliminate this from happening again in the future.
And you know, when you take a look at the defensive backs, for the most part, they usually give way height and weight to the people they're attempting to tackle. And in the case of Derek Beattie, he's 5'8", 176 pounds, and Travis Moore is 6'1", 185 pounds, the man he was bringing down. 11:03 is the time remaining in the fourth quarter. They have now moved the stretcher out of the ambulance, and people tending to Derek Beattie are being very careful as to how they move him. We can only hope that the situation will be somewhat similar to what we have seen in other cases where they take all these precautions, they get the athlete to the hospital, and after undergoing further examination, they found that the injury is not as serious as was feared. But they have immobilized him as they move him onto the stretcher.
And this is great, and they have to do this. You can't let the player go back to the bench, even if sometimes players are stubborn and say, I feel okay with just a second. You have to get these people checked out properly. You don't want to have anything reoccurring when he's not around. Proper care.
The man standing there, number 7, Ian Franklin, is probably going to come on as Derek Beattie's replacement.
He just signed a contract a week and a half ago, agreeing to terms with Edmonton.
Again, they are being very careful as they move Derek Beattie into the ambulance. Mike Sellers talking to him as they move him over to the ambulance door. Fans reacting now with a round of applause for Derek Beattie. And the concern not only on the face of the players, but also on the spectators here at McMahon Stadium this afternoon.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what kind of effect this has on the Edmonton team. There's going to be a lot of anger about the situation happening in the first place, and where are they going to displace it? Are they going to try and, you know, take it out on Calgary? Or
well, 11:03 is the time remaining here at McMahon Stadium. The second half of our Labor Day doubleheader is Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton, and Mark Lee, Chris Cuthbert, and David Archer are standing by.
Thanks, Whit. The players here, the Argos and the Tiger Cats, going through their pregame warm-ups in hot and muggy Hamilton here at Ivor Wynne Stadium. And there's Don Matthews, just 2 wins away, gentlemen, from tying Frank Clair's all-time record of 147.
And a great deal of emotion, as is always the case prior to a game between the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Toronto Argonauts on Labor Day. There's Urban Bowman, his first Labor Day Classic as the head coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and obviously the emotion here is in sharp contrast to what we have just seen at McMahon Stadium.
And Dave, a lot of people wondering how this Ticat defense might perform against the Argos. They are rated #2 in most categories behind Toronto, but that was a Don Southern defense. He's no longer around to guide them.
No, he's not, but I think the same players are in place, and you'd like to think they're going to play the same way. They know this team extremely well, played them twice during the season. Expect this team to come out and play extremely hard. I was just down on the field. Tremendous motion flowing right now, especially on the Hamilton side of the ball.
We talked to Don Matthews yesterday, and this is what he had to say about that very subject, the Hamilton defense.
Hamilton has played us very, very tough the first 2 games, plus the preseason game. So the interesting thing that I will be looking for is their defense. Don Southern had a major, major role in the defending of Doug Flutie. I'm going to see if that influence is still there.
And what about Mike Pinball Clemens? Some of the stats show that the Argos score most of their first downs when he has the ball.
Pinball Clemens has been a key both in offense and on special teams. It'll be fun to watch him tonight.
All right, that's all coming up. The Argos and Ticats, the second part of our doubleheader here at Labor Day. Don?
Well, Mark, Derek Beatty has been transported by ambulance to hospital on the first down play. Calvin Anderson, the ball carrier, and he picked up a yard. It will be 2nd and 9 from the 48.
2nd and 9 at the Eskimo 48.
Ian Franklin in the ball game, replacing the injured Derek Beatty. 2nd and 9 for Calgary. 4 receivers wide to the right. The give again to Anderson, and he's surrounded almost immediately and brought down at the 47.
I just finished talking to the Eskimos training staff, and they said that Beatty is being taken to hospital for precautionary reasons only. He is not seriously hurt, they don't think. They wanted me to emphasize to his family who are watching this game that he's going to hospital just as a precaution.
Well, we suggested that might be the case, and I think with any neck injury or potential neck injury, it's better to err on the side of caution.
Well, remember, we can't see the vertebrae by the human eye. We have to go get x-rays and make sure everything's, and it's good to hear that they think he's all right, but let's do the full measure on him. But good to hear.
Mark McLaughlin, in contrast to his Edmonton counterpart, who is 1 of 4, has been good on both of his field goal tries, and this will be a 54-yard attempt for McLaughlin.
And that'll be his longest of the year.
Mark McLaughlin, number 13, is going to try a 50.
He did hit one earlier this year from 52 yards out. A 54-yard try is in the air with the wind at his back. It's wide, but it sails through the end zone for a single point. So the Eskimos will get the ball back at the 47-yard line. We talked at the start, Chris, about certain things to watch for in this game.
Well, we talked about protecting Garcia, and they have done a masterful job of doing that, and they've also opened up holes for Anderson. They've controlled Flutie. They have not let him be a major factor in this game. They controlled Pitts to a certain extent. Edmonton did. Pitts has not really been a major factor, but the factor is McManus is being injured. They've lost Burse. They just lost Beatty. And they've lost a lot of emotion.
Kemp at the quarterback in controls as the injured McManus wears the headset and watches from the Edmonton bench. Kemp operating from the shotgun. He looks out into the flat intended for Tobert, and he underthrew it.
And as a quarterback, he can't be skipping those big passes across the field like that. And I don't know if that's just the fact he hasn't played a whole lot. He's still cold. But usually let the quarterbacks warm up on the sidelines. But they've got to get something going, and I don't think the sideline outs are going to do it.
He's put the ball in the air 5 times, has completed just 1 pass.
Taking that down for the Eskimos at around 37.
Andre Balduc comes into the ball game. Eric Blunt goes to the sidelines. Again, it's the shotgun. Here comes the pressure. It's picked up by the Eskimos. The pass over the middle complete for a first down to Darren Flutie.
And they took a gamble, Calgary did, by bringing a safety blitz. Kalen coming up. Last time he got rocked by Burse. Burse wasn't in the game this time. I guess he figured he could try it again. He comes, he gets to Garcia, or gets to Kemp just a little late. Nice completion.
15 yards on the play for the Eskimos.
5 catches for Flutie now for 68 yards. First and 10 for the Eskimos. They are at the 48 of the Stampeders. Again, good protection for Kemp. He's throwing deep, looking for Bolduc. It's just beyond his reach.
And a nice throw by Kemp, a little farther for a completion, but he threw it in the proper place, and that is ahead of the guy so nobody else can intercept the ball. Bolduc found a seam there. He got between Kalen.
Andre Bolduc, another Concordia graduate.
And you can see there, you know, he's getting great time to throw the ball, and that's what you want, especially your backup quarterback. If you want him at all to get a rhythm, you got to give him some time because Calgary's going to come after him.
8:17 remaining. Kemp looks out into the flat for Tobert, and he's got him.
And a nice catch. Nice concentration. You got to leave your feet to catch the ball. Know you're going to get a hit. Kalen hits him as he catches the ball, but he hangs onto it and gets a first down. Leaves his feet, knows he's going to get hit. And he's in bounds because of the fact that he was forced out by the defender. Good call by the referee.
I think his feet actually came down in bounds anyway, but Tobert was taken over as a wideout starter in place of the injured Don Blair.
Well, you know I'll never argue with you anyway.
Penalty flag on the play. Pass intended for Flutie. Coleman was defending against him. It looked as though there may have been some movement on the part of the Stampeders prior to the ball being snapped.
Yeah, they definitely jumped offside.
Offside, Calgary, number 96. First down repeated.
Bronzel Miller is the man.
And you think it's fun to be a receiver? Watch this. After you catch the ball, one of the keys, smack Flutie. Make him pay for it. It's a nice job. After, even if you don't catch the ball, punish the receiver.
7:35 remaining. 24-6, the Stampeders lead. Three receivers wide to the left. Kemp again from the shotgun. Inside handoff to Blunt. And Blunt is stopped right at the 30-yard line.
That's a nice mixture by Kemp to throw a running play in there, but I think right now Edmonton's offensive line is not coming off with any authority. They're kind of hesitating on their first step and allowing the Calgary defenders to get into their face.
2nd and 5. Actually make that 2nd and about 4 from the 30-yard line. Was looking for Flutie. Flutie looked to the official to see if there was going to be a flag, as Davis appeared to have a grip on his jersey, but there was no red nylon on the artificial turf here at McMahon, and there was no pass completion with 6:46 remaining in the football game. On 3rd down, the Edmonton Eskimos are gambling. Kemp in behind center, Rod Conop. He's under pressure. Kemp being flushed out of there. Johnson missed him, but Pope doesn't. So the 3rd down gamble results in a big loss for the Edmonton Eskimos, back to the 42-yard line, and the Calgary Stampeders will take over.
And the worst situation about that is if you're not going to throw it, you can't make any yards going this way if you're going south. You got to get rid of it. I thought he was going to at least throw the ball when he was being pursued by the 3 guys. You cannot turn around and fold like a tent like that. No offense to Jimmy Kemp, but you got to put the ball downfield if you're going to move the chains.
A great afternoon of laughs.
Well, there was still some hope for the Edmonton Eskimos had they been able to convert that drive into a touchdown. But unfortunately, it resulted in a big loss on the 3rd down gamble, and the Calgary Stampeders take over at the 42. 3 times in this ball game, the Eskimos have turned the ball over. Calvin Anderson, the ball carrier, he drives straight ahead for a gain of about 3 yards.
Gets up to the 45-yard line.
And with so little time left, this is a great thing for Calgary to do, and just keep punishing these guys. And the reason is they got to play these guys next week on Friday. Let's set the tone right now. You're going to come into Edmonton on Friday. You're going to be black and blue when you come there.
We saw the 3 turnovers for Edmonton, 1 for Calgary. Calgary leads the league in the giveaway takeaway category at a +13. The Eskimos coming into this game were a -4. Pitch was the man Garcia was looking for, incomplete. And one of the reasons the Stampeders have the lead in the giveaway takeaway category is the fact that Garcia has only been intercepted 6 times.
And he's thrown 17 touchdowns coming in today's game. He's got an incredible ratio. He's thrown for some great yardage. But I think what he's doing, he's maturing. When there's nothing there, he's not forcing the ball. He's taking off with the ball. He's going to say, hey, listen, if I can get 3 yards, I'm going to get 3 yards, but they're all going to be positive.
Tony Martino was under some pressure the last time he lined up in punt formation and hit it off the side of his foot. This time there's better protection, but it's not a great kick by Martino. Taken by Blunt. The Gizmo throws one block to open some daylight. And then Blunt goes down at the 30-yard line. A 43-yard kick that time, 7 yards on the return.
Well, Calgary's coverage downfield and all aspects of the special teams have been excellent today. They have not allowed Gizmo to get outside. They have not allowed Blunt to get outside. They've gone in their lanes, and that's what you want to do as a cover team. Stay in your lanes, don't go out of your lanes, don't create any creases, and that's what they're doing.
Kemp has completed only 3 of his 9 passing attempts for 35 yards. Coming into this game, the Eskimos were 7-2 atop the West Division standings, and they pretty much had a chance with a win today to take away any first-place aspirations for the Calgary Stampeders. But the Stampeders now, if they get to 5-5, which looks as though they will, they would only be 4 points back, and they would still have a shot at first place. Mike Sellers is the injured ball player.
And actually, I was watching that play, Don. Sellers ran over the up back, and I'm really surprised to see Sellers is the one that is laying there because he crunched the up back on the punt protection team.
Mike Sellers is the injured Eskimo.
Sellers joined the Eskimo organization out of Walla Walla as a 19-year-old. First year he broke his ankle, didn't get an opportunity to play. This is his 2nd season really in Eskimo livery, and he's playing very well.
Well, Ronnie Lancaster had nothing but good things to say about him. You'll see him, you'll see him come in the left of your frame. He just runs over the up back. And might have caught his shoulder or his wrist in the turf.
Avis Rent-A-Car is the official rent-a-car.
Doesn't look hurt in that place, so maybe it was something after.
Stampeders. When the red and white are on the road, we drive in luxury. In the red and white.
But the way he's holding his arm, it's like a shoulder injury.
Yes, he is definitely favoring the left arm.
Talking about the Western Division, Don, Saskatchewan's got to be delighted with the results today because it keeps them in the race. Nobody else is pulling away from them. They're still 4 wins. Calgary will have 5. That Western Division is going to be a dogfight.
Well, there is the possibility that all 4 teams in the West could be involved in postseason action. If all 4 teams have a better record than the 3rd-place team in the East, there would be a crossover situation where the number 4 team would play the number 2 team in the East in the semifinal. Out into the flat for Eric Blunt. Jimmy tried to cut back, searching for additional yardage, and he's down at the 39 by Eddie Davis, a 7-yard gain.
And this has been Edmonton, it seems like their favorite play all day of hitting a swing pass to the back and either the right side flats or left side flats, and they've been living off this play. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of time, and you don't get a first down every time on it. And I think they got to go downfield a little bit farther to start getting some scoring positions.
Kent was able to bounce away, throw the pass to Tobert for a first down, but there's a penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage.
And you're going to see Chris Morris object to this call. He's got called for clipping Marvin Pope in the back. In actuality, all he did was pushed him in the back. I know it's a clip, but when you're in that zone pass protecting, you'll do whatever you can to get him off your quarterback.
Legal block, Edmonton, number 60, 2nd down repeater.
Well, the University of Toronto grad negates the gain on the pass to Tobert as a result of the penalty.
You're going to see it right here when Kemp starts to scramble. Chris just wants to make sure that Marvin stays on the ground. Gives him a little shot. The umpire's back there, throws a flag.
2nd and 12 for the Eskimos. Kemp in the shotgun. steps away from the pressure, decides to run with the ball, stays on his feet, and then takes a pretty good shot at the 40-yard line, but it's going to be close to a first down.
Tremendous effort by Jim Kemp here when it looked like he was going to get sacked, and I think his O-linemen are going to get a little frustrated thinking he's hanging on to the ball a little long. They're trying to do their best to keep the Calgary defensive lineman out of the backfield. But they say if you don't have that ball gone in 5-6 seconds, you're on your own.
Kemp, a college grad of Wake Forest, and of course his father, Jack Kemp, a former National Football League quarterback with the Buffalo Bills and a former U.S. Senator. And his brother, Jeff Kemp, also played in the National Football League. If you grow up in a football family, there's a tendency to gravitate to the sport. Your son is playing football, I understand?
Yeah, my oldest son's playing his first year of football right now, and he's actually playing the same position that I tried to play, right tackle, and I got to watch his very first game, and I was quite thrilled to watch him. And you know, as usually fathers will brag about, he played well.
Would you like a little more time to describe his game?
I actually brought some film if we could put it on.
A first down for the Edmonton Eskimos on the third down gamble. And we have 2:59 remaining here in the Labor Day Classic at McMahon Stadium. Well, this is the first time under Wally Buono's direction that the Stampeders have come into this Labor Day game with a losing record, but it looks as though they're going to depart this afternoon with a 500 mark. 24-6. The Stampeders lead the Eskimos with only 2:56 remaining.
I believe that'll make it 5 in a row.
Kemp throwing deep for Tobert. Can't catch up with it. Tobert had maneuvered in behind Marvin Coleman. Kemp saw him, but overthrew him.
And Marvin Coleman's wondering if there was a breakdown there, how he got behind him. You know, nobody likes to admit they may have got beaten deep, especially by a Canadian slot back. But Mark Tobert does a nice job getting downfield. And this is something they should have done earlier in the game by stretching the defense. We talked about it. They've only gone to it sporadically.
Mark Tobert, the University of Alberta product, has had a strong game this afternoon. 4 catches for 43 yards. 2nd and 10 for the Eskimos. Kemp for Flutie, and Flutie takes it to the 50 of Calgary. First down, Edmonton. A 19-yard pickup for Darren Flutie.
And I think we could show all of Flutie's catches, and they're all the same patterns. He reads the coverage and just settles in behind. Does a nice job. Just cuts it back inside, right in front of Eddie Davis. Nice grab and turn it up.
There's an injured Calgary player as the Eskimos attempted to huddle up, and it is Anthony McClanahan who is down.
Is Anthony McClanahan hurt, or is this an excuse to get his hair color on TV?
Well, he's wearing a bandana, so we won't be able to see what color his hair is today. He said he plans on changing it this coming week anyway. He had quite a pattern, a variety of colors in his hair yesterday, and obviously that's why he got the nickname the Crayola Kid.
Well, he likes to think of himself as the Dennis Rodman of the CFL. And it's interesting to talk to Katie Williams, who's another flamboyant linebacker out of Saskatchewan, and what he has to say about McClanahan. He feels McClanahan is a showboat who doesn't back it up with any of his play. So it'll be interesting to see when these two play. Maybe we can set up a match.
Is Katie Williams considering a wrestling career?
Well, maybe we could set it up. I think if the money's right, Katie would do it. We can call him the Zircon Kid.
Raymond Biggs is going to come into the ball game to replace Anthony McClanahan.
And you know, one of the things, you know, I was joking about Anthony McClanahan earlier, but you'd hate to see him get hurt. He's right now in the middle of wrestling camp with the Stu Hart family. And anything serious like this might set that career back.
Back up, Dave. Back up, back up, back up.
Although the Stampeders have won the last 4 Labor Day Classics and appear headed to a 5th straight win. In the return engagement in previous years back in Edmonton, the Eskimos have won 2 of the last 3. So if they do go down to defeat today, they'll be looking to bounce back on Friday. Flutie was the intended target. He was looking to run before he had control of the football, and Marvin Coleman made sure that he didn't juggle the ball successfully. In the last 4 meetings, this is what has happened between these two teams. And of course, in the West Final last year, the big story was the last play field goal by Sean Fleming that gave Edmonton the victory.
You have some fellows running on the field looking for tryouts.
And they are wisely being ignored. Every once in a while, I kind of wish that one of the football players would just put out a straight arm or something when some of these people run out on the playing field. Much the way Ron Asselstein took care of the player or the fan who jumped on the ice in Boston a few years ago.
But I told you, we had a linebacker named Pitts, played for Winnipeg back in 82, 83. Fans were running across the field, delaying the game. Players wanted to get going. He clotheslined the guy. That was the last time you see those guys running the field. Yeah, they disrupt the game.
Well, it looks as though they may be spending a little time looking at bars. The way the constabulary has moved in on them here at McMahon Stadium, which is a good sign. 2:13 remains out of the shotgun. Kemp looks for Flutie. This time he hangs on for a first down at the 37.
And we got to give Edmonton's offensive line a little credit. When you're in a situation like this, you got to throw every down. And the defensive line knows this, and they're just teeing off right now, and they're doing a good job of giving Kemp enough time to throw.
Flutie now has 7 receptions for 101 yards.
First and 10 Eskimos.
Kemp having problems picking out a receiver. Shannon Myers came back to the quarterback, helped him out. And has he ever done a good job this afternoon of running with the football after catching it?
I'd check his sweater because there's some kind of Mazzola on it, but you're right. He's done some great things when he's caught the ball. He's determined. He's one of those guys that says, give it to me, let me do something with it. And Kemp again avoids pressure, rolls out. Nice sidearm, Doug Flutie kind of pass. And watch this. This is determination. He's going to go down, gets hit a couple times, just keeps fighting. This is determination. As a coach, you just got to love this kind of thing right here.
A face mask call against the Calgary Stampeders will improve the field position for the Edmonton Eskimos. 4 catches today for Myers for 68 yards. He was quite a baseball player in college as well. I think in his senior year, he batted something like .468. First and goal into the end zone. Robert Gordon, touchdown.
Well, something for them to cheer about. Most definitely.
Well, the contingent of Edmonton fans who made the trip to Calgary for this Labor Day game finally have something to cheer about on a Kemp to Gordon touchdown pass. 1:41 the time remaining, and it's going to be a 2-point convert try by the Edmonton Eskimos. The Stampeders were successful in the first half with a 2-point convert attempt. Garcia to Alan Pitts. Who will Jim Kemp attempt to go to? Into the end zone, and it's Gordon, the man who scored the touchdown.
And again, a sidearm throw by Jim Kemp. And one thing, I tell you what, he's had an excellent drive. He's taken him right down the field, avoided pressure, made some nice throws.
Kemp in 10 plays put the Eskimos in the end zone. 24-14 the score with 1:41 remaining.
And one of the nice things about this is you're building for next week now. Jim Kemp's got some confidence. He's moved the ball against the defense that's really given him troubles all day and being successful at the end. He's going to be feeling pretty good going into Friday, and that's something to build on.
Well, the Eskimos, if they lose this football game, can take some solace from the fact that they have won the second half of this game. They were down 23-4 at halftime, and they've outscored the Stampeders 10-1 in the second half.
Well, they never died, and that's something you got to appreciate about a professional football team, and that's any team that's coached by Ron Lancaster's. They've got a lot of grit, a lot of determination, and they know they got to play, as you said, they got to play these guys 6 days. It's going to start all over.
10 plays, 79 yards for the Eskimos for the touchdown by Robert Gordon. Fleming getting set for the short kickoff. Everybody lined up over to the left side. But he kicked it a little too deep, and Danielson is able to pull it in as the Stampeders were ready for it, and they had what they referred to as their hands team.
Their hands team, all the sure-handed receivers just in case. But usually when you're trying to kick that, you're trying to go 10, 11 yards there, so your guys covering have a chance to get the ball. That was a little deep, and he might have wanted to use one of those kicks on a field goal try.
Robert Gordon with the touchdown catch. And for Gordon, that's his 4th touchdown of the season. 1:39 the time remaining. These teams play again in Edmonton at Commonwealth Stadium on Friday. And they play in Edmonton for the final time this season on October the 5th. Garcia out into the flat to Danielson, and Danielson has a first down. And even if they are forced to kick the ball away now, the Eskimos will be operating on a very long field.
Very long field, but one thing Garcia does, he knows he's got the game in bag right now. He's still throwing the ball downfield. He's still mixing it up. He is not deterred from his game plan at all, from the start of the game to the end of the game. And that's why they have the points they do, and that's why they're successful as they are right now.
15 yards on the completion. Garcia to Danielson. 1:31 showing on the scoreboard clock.
If we have security come to take this fellow off the field immediately, please.
And if I had one criticism of what is taking place this afternoon at McMahon Stadium with the full house in attendance, it's that the security people have not totally controlled those who attempt to disrupt the game by running out there. That's the reason for the delay right now. It's up to the stadium security people, I would think, to remove those who are going out onto the playing field. Or else, as you suggested, let some of the football players take a shot at them.
Well, I think when a situation turns like this, you got to cuff them. You got to let them think about it. This might be the time where put them in a little solitude area.
Now the members of the Calgary police force who are in attendance go out to help the security people. You have to wonder what possesses people to run out onto the playing field. I think that's an ex-offensive lineman.
Well, you know, we never get our faces on camera, so maybe that's what he's doing. I'm hoping it's because of that, not because of what was jiggling under his shirt.
Well, Ron Lancaster, if he can take some positives from this game, we'll look back on the second half, as I mentioned earlier, where his Eskimos have outscored the Stampeders 10-1.
But they're going to have to get some production out of their D-line. They've been virtually non-existent tonight. We haven't called Leroy Blue's name, McCready, Sellers all game. And for them to be successful, they are known as a good defensive line. They're going to have to do something to change it, and maybe we'll see what happens if Benny Goods is able to come back. Ron Lancaster doesn't think he will, but maybe after an exhibition like this, they're going to try and put him in.
Well, Ron Lancaster was saying that Benny Goods really wanted to get back into this ball game, but he doesn't think that Goods will even be able to return for next week's return engagement, or Friday's return engagement with the Stampeders. More than likely, it'll be in 2 weeks against BC when Goods will be able to come back. The toss to Anderson, and Anderson will get a first down, taking the ball inside the 35-yard line with 42 seconds remaining. A pickup of 6. Calgary in the first half, 10 opening quarter points, 13 more in the second quarter. The only touchdown of this second half, Jim Kemp to Robert Gordon in the fourth quarter. Too little, too late for the Edmonton Eskimos, with now only 27 seconds remaining. Danny McManus injured. His status somewhat uncertain for the return engagement on Friday.
One good thing that Edmonton has going is the fact that even though the players sometimes hate back-to-back games and see the same ugly face in front of you all the time, the coaches have an opportunity to break down the film and see what happened and make the adjustments quickly, instead of saying, well, we play these guys 4 weeks down the road or 5 weeks down the road. We play them in 6 days. A lot of teams can't make a lot of changes offensively in that short of time. This will give Edmonton's defense an opportunity to see what they did wrong and what they have to correct.
Second down, 2 yards to go.
Well, the way the Stampeders started the year, there were people who were wondering if this team that had been so dominant throughout the 90s in the West was even going to qualify for postseason competition. I don't think there's going to be much doubt about that, as Mark McLaughlin splits the uprights to increase the lead to 27-14. And there are penalty flags as there are skirmishes on the field. Emotions always run high in any game between these two teams. You heard the players express dislike for people on the other team when they're in uniform. Off the field, the situation is different.
And I'm sure there's a lot of chatter going on down there, a lot of comments made to each other. It doesn't take much to blow a fuse.
That was the final play of the football game. 27-14. The Stampeders defeat the Edmonton Eskimos. We're going to wrap things up here at McMahon Stadium, this first half of our Labor Day doubleheader. The Calgary Stampeders making it 5 in a row. When we come back, we'll be at Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton for Toronto-Hamilton.